Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors Land Use and Transportation Committee meeting for Monday, November 13th, 2017. My name is Mark Farrell. I'll be chairing this committee. I'm joined by our Supervisor and Committee Vice Chair, Aaron Peskin, as well as Supervisors Katie Tang. We do also have Supervisors Jeff Sheehy and Asha Safai here, although I'm under no illusion they're here for items 1 or 2. I want to thank Jim Smith and Charles Kremenak from SF Gov TV for covering the meeting today, as well as Lingla Wong, the clerk of our committee. I want to make a few announcements. First of all, for item number 1 only, we're going to have Spanish interpreters here. So if anyone needs an interpreter, please feel free to let our staff know, as well as we will have Chinese interpreters for items number 3 and 4. And lastly, I want to wish my own father a happy birthday today on November 13th. With that, Madam Clerk, would you call item number 1?
Yes, item number 1 is an ordinance amending the fire and housing codes to require sprinklers in non-residential areas of residential hotels and making appropriate findings.
Okay, thank you. Colleagues, this item was sponsored by Supervisor Peskin. Supervisor, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chair Farrell and Supervisor Tang and colleagues. I appreciate your taking this up again, and I also want to thank the many community representatives who've come out in support of this long overdue legislation, including the Community Tenants Association, the San Francisco Apartment Association, the Mission SRO Collaborative, Chinatown SRO Families Collaborative, and the Tenderloin People's Congress, to name a few. This morning, the San Francisco Chronicle editorial board also weighed in, and I want to thank them for their support of this legislation. I think there's widespread agreement that this legislation is a measured approach to addressing fire safety requirements and disclosures in some of our city's oldest buildings with lots of affordable housing. Indeed, since our last meeting, a fire originated in the ground floor laundromat of a residential building in my district, temporarily displacing 30 individuals. Luckily, the fire department arrived within minutes of the call and no one was hurt. But it was another reminder of the urgency of implementing systems that could delay or help contain fire damage and potentially save lives. In advance of the last meeting, I did receive some feedback and concerns that commercial tenants who were enjoying the benefits of affordable commercial rent through long-term leases might be adversely impacted by the potential for construction cost pass-throughs. This is not the intent of the legislation, and while we're not entirely sure who would actually be impacted by this, given that the legislation is already triggered by sale and purchase of an SRO, I have some amendments which I have passed out to you in an attempt to address these concerns. I want to thank the city attorney for the language which you can find on page 5 at lines 14 through 22 and on page 6 lines 1 through 10, which indicate that 10 days prior to submitting building permit application, a owner of a residential hotel will provide written notice to any tenant of the non-residential areas subject to the upgrade requirement of the tenant's right to apply to the Department of Building Inspection for a deferment of the upgrade requirement. Tenants of non-residential areas impacted by the upgrade requirement may apply to DBI for a deferment of the upgrade if, 1, they have a written lease that was in effect as the effective date of the ordinance, and 2, the lease explicitly requires that the tenant pay for the costs of building upgrades or updates. And that language is before you. I believe we have some members of the public. Again, I would like to thank the widespread community support, and thank you, colleagues, for listening to this a second time.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor Peskin. Colleagues, I have a number of speaker cards for item number 1. Cookie Howard, Candy, Jordan Davis, and Tim Huang. If there's anyone else, please feel free to come forward and line up against the far wall. We're going to have 2 minutes to speak, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Good afternoon. My name is Jordan Davis, and I serve as the tenant representative on the Single Room Occupancy Task Force. I am supporting Sprinkler Ordinance 2.0, and here are the reasons. The Graywood Hotel burned down in 2016, 57 displaced. The Park Hotel at 1040 Folsom burned down in 2011, 41 displaced. And 801 Pacific burned down in 2017, 19 displaced. And of course, there's 1199 Mason, I believe that was, where 30 were displaced, as Supervisor Peskin said. Then there were smaller fires in the Francis and Mission hotels recently that displaced several tenants. Mission SRO Collaborative is here today in support because the mission is burning. And although this legislation doesn't go far enough, it is still necessary to make sure that there is less of a chance that people living in these hotels end up on the streets due to these blazes. And when it comes to senior, disabled, and immigrants, homelessness can be even harder and possibly even deadly. I am a fire safety fundamentalist. There is no measure that is too complex, too expensive, or too redundant to preventing these conflagrations. We all have a duty to prevent fire, but the hotel owners have an even bigger responsibility, and Sprinkler Ordinance 2.0 will play a huge role in that. For all the hotels in the Mission, Tenderloin, Soma, Chinatown, North Beach, Nob Hill, and yes, even the Richmond and elsewhere, it is imperative that this gets passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jordan. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Candy Crawford, and I live at the Mission Hotel. I'm also part of the Mission Collaborative. I'm in support of these upgrades because we live in fear of having fires all the time. We have sprinklers in our hotel, but we've had many fires, and none of the sprinklers have turned on. We've had fires in the kitchen area where there's no sprinkler. We've had fires in the laundry room where the lint gets trapped in the wall, and no sprinkler. We barely have alarms. So we are definitely in support of this because we live in fear for our lives all the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Tim Huang with the Mission SRO Collaborative, and I'm here in support of the proposed changes to the sprinkler ordinance. So first I want to thank Supervisor Paskin and his team for spearheading this bill. So I lead fire and earthquake prevention workshops in SRO hotels in the Mission. And, the stuff I see there is just kind of mind-blowing. There's actually some people who live in SRO hotels with no elevator, it's just stairs, and they are wheelchair users. So imagine if their building caught on fire, how would they escape? And also, with buildings like the Graywood, with the fire displacing them, they have the right to come back. But in reality, who's going to follow up on all the displaced tenants? Who's going to make sure that they have a home? And you have to ask yourself, what is going to end up with these rooms that get renovated due to the fires? And then who are going to be the new residents that are going to be staying there? So I hope you all support this bill, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Laura Murillo y yo vivo en el Hotel Gran Sarer de la Misión.
Good afternoon, my name is Laura Murillo and I live in the Hotel de la Misión.
Y a mí me da miedo que vaya a haber un incendio ahí,
I'm afraid that there's going to be a fire there at some point
porque es un edificio muy viejo
because it's a very old building
y hay muchos niños viviendo ahí.
and there's a lot of children that live there.
Y además muchas personas fuman en sus cuartos
And a lot of people smoke in their rooms.
y no queremos que pase una desgracia como la que pasó en el 801 Pacific en Chinatown.
And we don't want anything horrible to happen like what happened in Pacific Hotel in Chinatown.
Entonces quisiera que por favor nos ayudaran a hacer esta ley.
So I ask you here to please help us enact this law.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Cookie Howard, and I live in the Mission Hotel. I'm a member of the SRO Collaborative, Mission SRO Collaborative, and we've had several fires in the building since I've been there. I've been living there for 10 years. I'm also trained in NERT training with the fire department. I have been a safety monitor in my building, but recently, due to whatever they want to say in my building, management says that we don't need safety monitors in my building, and this is all part of, like fire safety issues. And, like I said, we've had, I don't know how many fires in my building, 10 years I've been there. The sprinklers have not gone off one time. Thank God we have a very responsive fire department. And for whatever reason, I talked to the fire marshals the other day. They said that the sprinklers work. I have to take their word for it because that's their job. But we're still not sure. So it's very, 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 very important to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good afternoon, Matias Mormino from the Chinatown Community Development Center. I think that the residents, both this week and 2 weeks ago, spoke very eloquently why we need these protection on top of what we already have. What we're also here in support of today is a provision for those small businesses that serve the neighborhood, that have been long in existence, sometimes in the ground floor of these SROs. And we really want to see those thrive and stay in place. So we're in full support of the amendment as described by Supervisor Peskin that will protect those with long-term leases and pass through for capital improvements, which we thought was a very important, very narrow exemption to what we're working on. So I want to thank Supervisor Peskin and his staff for all the work that he's put into this issue, and hopefully we can get all of your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name's Denise Dory, and I'm president of the Central City Democrats. And I'd like to thank Supervisor Peskin for his legislation. I'd like to endorse Jordan Davis also. Her comments were spot on. I live on Eddy and Taylor, and I've lived in SROs most of my life, really. I'm 62, so it's like 4 decades of living in SROs. And this time, I was in this Franciscan Towers when they burned, the Franciscan Tower over on Eddy and Taylor. And there were no sprinklers. There was no fire alarms. We sat there and just burned and burned and burned. The building just burned all night. And the only reason we got out was because there were people on the street saying, look, come out, because we had a street side view. But without having a street side view, we might not have, there were people that got really sick from smoke inhalation. So that's a good example that we do need fire alarms. So, because I rescued like 2 cats out of there, and it wasn't, this is real, and these buildings are like tinder boxes. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other members of the public who wish to comment on item number 1? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Supervisor Peskin?
Thank you, Chair Farrell. I would like to move the amendments that I offered earlier, and again, thank you, colleagues and members of the public, as well as my staff, Sonny Angulo, who has been working on this legislation now for many months, and would like to send the item as amended to the full board with recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Peskin, and we can take that without objection. Madam Clerk, would you call item number 2, please?
Item number 2 is an ordinance amending the planning code to designate 2731 to 2735 Folsom Street as landmark under Article 10 and making appropriate findings.
Okay, colleagues, so this item is sponsored here, and we have our planning department to speak on this item.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. Shannon Ferguson, Planning Department staff. The item before you today is a community-sponsored Article 10 landmark nomination for the Goffrin House located at 2731, 2735 Folsom Street in the Mission District. The landmark nomination was submitted by the property owners, Sean Lundy and Carol Way, in February 2017. 2731 Folsom Street was constructed for James Goffrin in 1900, likely as a rental property. The Goffrin House is significant for its association with the development of the Mission District as a streetcar suburb in the 19th century. The streetcars that ran along Mission, Howard, and Folsom Street helped spur development of multi-unit flats in the Mission District, like the Goffrin House. The Goffrin House is also significant as a work of master architect James Francis Dunn, and is a fine example of residential Beaux-Arts architecture. The building is clearly identifiable as a James Dunn building, especially with its intricately molded balcony topped by an elaborate wrought iron railing, a feature that Dunn frequently used in his apartment building designs. One of Dunn's buildings, 1298 Sacramento Street, completed after his death, is designated as Landmark 106. His other signature design features are also present, including a rusticated ground floor, a tripartite composition, molded surrounds, exuberant surface ornamentation, and arched openings. These features are also hallmarks of the Beaux-Arts style. The Historic Preservation Commission initiated landmark designation on March 15, 2017, and unanimously recommended landmark designation on July 19, 2017. The department believes the building meets the established eligibility requirements and landmark status is warranted. On behalf of the Historic Preservation Commission, the department recommends landmark designation of the Goffard House. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. The property owner, Mr. Lundy, was not able to be here today. Unfortunately, his father passed away suddenly last week. Mr. Lundy attended both HPC hearings, and he's very supportive of designation.
Okay, thanks very much. Colleagues, any questions or comments? Okay, we will open this up to public comment. Anybody wish to comment on item number 2? Please step forward. Seeing none, public comment is closed. Again, sorry, just a quick question, just to make clear. The supervisor whose district this is in,
Yes.
are they supporting this item?
Yes.
Okay, just want to double check. Thank you. Okay, colleagues.
Mr. Chairman, I would be happy to move this item to the full board with recommendation and want to thank Mr. Lundy for the incredible work that they've done rehabilitating this place and to planning department staff for the very lovely case report, and I'd be happy to affix my name as a sponsor.
Okay, motion by Supervisor. Did you make a motion, Supervisor?
So moved.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Peskin, move this item forward with recommendation, and we can take that without objection. Madam Clerk, would you call items 3 and 4 together, please?
Yes, item number 3 and 4 are ordinances amending the planning code to regulate cannabis land uses, allow MCDs in additional zoning districts, establish a land use process for the conversion of MCDs, repeal ordinance number 186-17, limit, allow or prohibit MCDs and cannabis retail in certain NCDs and commercial corridor, and making appropriate findings.
Okay, thank you very much. So, colleagues, the item of the hour here, and why everyone is, I think, joining us in chambers today. We have these items in front of us. I know there was work done last week. There was work done on this topic, certainly at our Rules Committee, or some of my colleagues who are here with us today spent their time this morning. I would invite my colleagues if they want to make any comments right now. Otherwise, what I would suggest we also do is move on to public comment, since I think the substance of what we're going to be discussing will be handled afterwards. But colleagues, if you would like to speak, I want to open that up. Supervisor Sheehy?
Yes, I just want to, I think we have the outlines of something that might work out. We won't have the actual language, as I understand, from the city attorney until tomorrow. But, and really the goal of the amendments we're going to be proposing tomorrow is to make sure that we have something in place on January 1st. And the way in which we're lining this up is so that the existing MCDs, the existing supply chain will be able to do adult use on January 1. And maybe if planning or the city attorney can just kind of talk broadly about what we want to do and where it's going to be, and hopefully that's something we can get some consensus on while we take time to really wrangle out the details of the remaining details as a board so that we can satisfy as many of our interests as possible.
To our planning department.
Thank you, Supervisor Sheehy. Yeah, so if you wanted to move forward without the cannabis retail regulations in the ordinance, but allow sort of the temporary sale of adult use cannabis on January 1, what we proposed is creating cannabis retail as a temporary use and amending Section 190 to say that, and also Section 205, which deals with temporary uses in the planning code. The temporary use would run for a year, but it would be contingent upon the Office of Cannabis issuing their sort of temporary adult use permit for that time period. And then the board would go through the legislative process to hammer out the details for how permanent controls for cannabis retail would work. And at that point, everyone that was operating as an MCD with a temporary cannabis retail permit would have to go through whatever land use process you all developed for that. We'd also like to see the non-retail portion move forward. It clarifies the code so that the zoning administrator doesn't have to make interpretations about what use fits in what. And it also deals with some agricultural growing issues that may arise if those aren't moved forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just for clarification's sake here, I think for people in the public who are wondering what's going to happen. So essentially, this idea, if it moves forward and moves forward tomorrow, the full board would essentially allow existing MCDs to convert to recreational use through the Office of Cannabis on January 1st, and then and that would be essentially a one-year temporary permit, if you will, while we iron out the permanent details. Is that correct?
Correct.
Or if there are any other details, please. Again, I just want to lay it out because
Sure.
people have asked plain and simply what we're talking about.
So pursuant to amendments made, Supervisors Nicole Elliott, Office of Cannabis, pursuant to some amendments made to the operating ordinance, which allow for Article 33 permit holders to temporarily do cannabis retail, including adult use. That is an amendment to to Article 33 of the Health Code. So that would be, while my office would be reviewing security plans, potentially pending amendments made tomorrow at the board, security plans and good neighbor policies, until they have an Article 16 permit, they are in DPH's purview. So there's a provision in the operating ordinance that requires operators to apply, Article 33 permit holders, to apply for a permit within 30 days of my office making that application available next year. So there is a moment in time where they will have to transition over to Article 16 and seek an Article 16 permit. But January 1st, if they are doing adult use activity, that will be through their Article 33 permit, and thus they will be under the regulatory authority of the Department of Public Health.
And just for everyone's clarification, could you clarify what Article 16 is and Article
Sure,
33?
happy
for those
to.
that are here? Thank you.
Article 16 is the new, is the article within the police code that where we are housing the regulatory structure for commercial cannabis activity moving forward. Article 16 permits are being created within the police code to allow the Office of Cannabis to regulate that activity moving forward. Article 33 is what currently allows medicinal cannabis dispensaries to do collective activity under the health code.
Got it. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank-
Supervisor Safai.
Thank you, Chair Farrell. Just adds a little bit of clarity. We talked about in the Rules Committee this morning, there was this transition that was intended to provide for the temporary operation of adult use along with medicinal use. And just to clarify for the public, anyone that would be operating and doing adult use would still have to do medicinal use. So that is a requirement. You could continue to just be purely medicinal, but if you do adult use, you have to have a medicinal component. The second thing is, and Director Elliott referred to this, we asked and we will be proposing amendments tomorrow to require, there's two things that current operators have to submit as part of their process to be a medicinal cannabis dispensary. That's a good neighbor policy, and the other is a management and security plan. We heard both from this committee as well as the Rules Committee and other individuals that there was a desire that from moving from medicinal to adult use, that there would be some level of review if there were operators out there that weren't necessarily interacting with their commercial corridor or their neighbors well. Everyone would resubmit their good neighbor policy along with their management and security plan that would then be reviewed by the local police captain with suggestions offered, along with a final approval by the Office of Cannabis director and their department. And in consultation with the district supervisor, they can't write that into the code because of separation of powers, but we were clear on the record that we would want some interaction with our offices. So that is an amendment that will be proposed tomorrow in the full board.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. I think that makes sense. Again, I think we just want to make sure we want to get the general gist out there of one of the potential ideas that's been being discussed is to, again, allow under certain conditions, let's just leave it at that, existing MCDs to convert to recreational use on January 1st, and then proscribing at some potential future date permanent retail use, land use regulations. But with that, colleagues, unless no other comments right now, what I would suggest is we open this up to public comment. Everyone is going to have 2 minutes to speak. Again, we do have interpreters here in Chinese, if people would like them. I'm going to call up some speaker cards, and please line up against the far wall once your name has been called, and let's get going. We have Doug Block, Keena Middleton, David Goldman, Aaron Ash, Michael Cohn, Jesse Stout, Brandon Brown, David Hooper, Harold Smith, Jen Garcia.
Thank you. Doug Block with Teamsters Joint Council 7. I'm going to echo some of the comments I made in the Rules Committee earlier this morning. First, by starting to thank you all for going above and beyond the state standards on the employee threshold for a labor peace agreement, and to reiterate that our goal as a union has been that as this industry comes out of the shadows, that workers have the right to freely choose union representation. And to that end, we've worked very hard to shape the delivery model for this industry, including an independent distributor between wholesale and retail, and also the requirement that deliveries be done by employees, not independent contractors, of a dispensary with a manifest for delivery. I'm encouraged to hear that there may be a solution in the works so that we will have recreational cannabis on January 1st in the city and county of San Francisco. And I want to thank you for your hard work in pushing for that. And I would humbly suggest that if a dispensary applies for one of these temporary use permits for adult use, that they should actually be required to demonstrate that they have a signed labor peace agreement at the time of the application, not on January 1st as required by state law. And I would actually wonder, of the 46 that are currently operating, how many would meet that standard if they were asked to do so today? Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Block. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, supervisors. My name is David Goldman. I am the president of the San Francisco chapter of the Cannabis Policy-Oriented Brownie Mary Democratic Club. I'm also a long-term homeowner and resident in San Francisco dating back to 1973. I'd like to speak about the proposed zoning issues that have been discussed in the two parallel track pieces of legislation on cannabis. I think the 600 state-foot minimum is more than adequate when you use 1,000 feet, and especially if you're considering adding daycare centers as sensitive use. You will make it virtually impossible for there to be cannabis dispensaries in the city, any new ones. I also think it's a mistake to give geographical exemptions to neighborhoods like Chinatown and West Portal for not having any cannabis dispensing. 80% of us, according to research, use cannabis to get off prescription drugs, and it would be absurd to think that a neighborhood would not have a drugstore nearby within a few blocks. Likewise, for people replacing cannabis instead of prescription drugs, to not have a dispensing place, a store or a medical dispensary nearby is an affront. I urge you not to set these restrictions in place. And further, I hope that you will not deny pipeline applicants from opening or equity applicants from opening for adult use in 2018. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Keena Middleton. I'm a San Francisco native and a cultivator, and I just want to speak in favor of the 600 feet so that we all get a chance. I mean, at 1,000 feet right now, it's not going to be possible for any of us to get into the business, and it's just going to carry on for the people that are already there. And also, we need consumption lounges so that there are places to go. I mean, when people get here, they're just going to go straight to the street, and then we're creating another war on a drug that we're trying to legalize, which doesn't make sense. So, thank you.
Supervisors, my name is David Hooper, and I'm here on behalf of the New Mission Terrace Improvement Association, one of the groups in the Outer Mission Excelsior District. and I'm also a member of District Election Council, and I've also been working on the effort by the San Francisco Planning Commission and the Mayor's Office of Workforce and Economic Development in order to breathe life into Mission Street. I'm here to say that the present limit on 3 cannabis dispensaries in the Mission District, in the Excelsior District on Mission Street, is more than adequate. As late as July a year ago, before the momentary moratorium was in place, then Supervisor Avalos and the 2 candidates for the Board of Supervisors, Kimberly Alvarenga and Asha Safai, presently our supervisor, all spoke on the necessity of maintaining that limit for the sake of our economic health and development on Mission Street. We are working hard for a better plan for Mission Street, and I believe that this and the 1,000-foot limit should be retained. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Michael Cohen, and I'm one of the officers in the Brownie Mary Democratic Club. I would ask that you not increase the footage from 600 feet to 1,000 feet for dispensaries from schools and daycare centers. This is really going to basically, in a city our size and in a city where many areas of the city are just not allowing cannabis to be had, it's going to increase clustering in the areas, in the neighborhoods where we already have dispensaries. So I plead with you, please do not increase the limit. Also, it would allow, if you increase the limit from 600 feet to 1,000 feet, what's to prevent somebody who doesn't want a cannabis dispensary in their neighborhood from saying, I'm going to start a daycare center in my neighborhood, and then jump through the hoops and get preliminary approval, and that would be it for the neighborhood. I think that's be a very dishonest way that people would be able to keep cannabis from their neighborhood. My other point is concerning consumption areas. Presently, we have 8 consumption locations in San Francisco for a population of over 800,000 people. I ask that you allow more consumption areas badly, because we are going to need it, especially after January 1st of 2018. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good afternoon, Supervisors, and thank you. My name is Harold Smith, and I am a long-term patient. I want to speak about the need for safe consumption linked to compassion, and compassion memorialized in regulation. In 1996, I was too underweight and sick to be able to tolerate the first effective HIV drug cocktail. With the help of caring professionals at the then underground cannabis clubs, I was given cannabis edibles for free and made sure that I had a full supply of smokable flower at no cost. These professionals monitored my smoking effectiveness and appetite generation until I regained 17 pounds in approximately 3 weeks. This demonstration of compassion allowed me to begin HIV drug therapy and recover from my life-threatening bout with AIDS wasting. 21 years later, the practice of San Francisco Compassion has become an integral part of longer life and greater survival rates for people with AIDS and other life-threatening illnesses. Without the financial subsidy that Compassion represents, many of us, myself included, would be unable to afford enough retail cannabis to maintain our regimen of health with HIV in a secure fashion. With Compassion, I can maintain medication security while living on a fixed income. Without Compassion, our industry will become merely mercenary, lacking the vision, foundation, and strength of purpose that has been our practice for many years. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. My name is Aaron Ash. I'm a law student here in San Francisco, and I'd like to voice my support for the 600-foot buffer zone. The 600-foot buffer zone, as opposed to 1,000 feet, not only increases access, it reduces clustering, but it ensures opportunity for the equity applicants. If the 1,000-foot buffer zone is passed, that will really reduce the amount of properties available, and it will cause the prices for those properties to skyrocket, and equity applicants will not be able to get properties. So really, equity will end up as a broken promise. Next is consumption. I believe there should be consumption lounges. Should be standalone consumption permits. Without places to consume, you are recriminalizing cannabis users who overwhelmingly voted in support of legalization. And in particular, you're criminalizing people of color who are systematically targeted by the police in the city. And then finally, transition to adult use. I appreciate that the supervisors are making it a point to allow transition to adult use for retailers, but I also think on the equity front, the equity applicants and other non-retail applicants should be able to transition to adult use by January 1st in order to ensure the supply chain and ensure the success of those equity applicants. Thank you very much.
Afternoon, Supervisor Safi, Supervisor Shi, and Land Use Committee, Supervisor Tang, Supervisor Farrell, Supervisor Peskin. Thank you so much for taking so much time. Really appreciate the comments, especially this morning, spending all these special committee hearings of rules and land use to get into the granular details of how to regulate cannabis in San Francisco. Such an important issue, as you can see, for so many people here today. We understand that the equity permit program would help repair some of the damages, the harms of the war on drugs of people of color and low-income people in San Francisco by giving the opportunity to start and own a cannabis business. The point of the equity permit program will be to help people to be able to get some of that first mover market advantage, to be able to start a business in 2018 when adult use cannabis business permits are available to only some of the businesses trying to open in San Francisco. So we would ask you here today to make sure to keep the promise from the September hearing when the equity report was requested from the Office of Cannabis that equity businesses be able to open in 2018. We would ask you today to please ensure that when the other business permits are granted so that our existing MCDs can convert to adult use, that equity permit holders be issued those same business permits to begin operations at the same time or sooner so that people have a fair playing field to be able to begin our new adventure in cannabis regulation in San Francisco. Please make sure that the equity program is not delayed until after January 2018 when other businesses, including the existing MCDs, will already have started selling adult use cannabis. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hello, my name is Brandon Brown. I'm here with, as a citizen for 5 years and working with the Equity Working Group. Really appreciate you guys hearing us today. I just want to say that the 1,000-foot rule, coming from experience and seeing in the city, operational experience over 15 years, 7 miles by 7 miles, is not only unreasonable, but unequitable. And then saying that, I guess that doesn't matter if there is no equity program. So I would also say that in San Francisco, I think a lot of people consider San Francisco one of the most, accepting and liberal cities probably in the nation/world. And so when you look at Oakland, you look at Maryland, you look at even Pennsylvania, working on equity programs, you can see there's a large importance there. And here in San Francisco, I think there's eyes on us right now, as what I said earlier, with that reputation to make sure that the equity program molds through, and as Jesse said earlier, that you keep your promise, that equity applicants will get a fair chance and no licenses will be handed out if there is no equity program in play. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, Supervisors. My name is Quentin Platt. I will keep this short in the interest of everyone's time. I do want to say thank you for being so diligent working with the community to come to resolutions that should be fair and equitable for everyone. So mostly I'm here to stand up in defense or as an advocate for the pipeline applicants. They entered into a system with outlining how they could have a roadmap to obtaining a medical cannabis dispensary permit. We all know how long that takes. So I believe that if you're able to get your business open and approved and you're done with construction in 2018 and you meet the other requirements, that you should be able to apply for adult use along with the other existing retailers. And I feel the same way about the equity applicants as well. So please allow pipeline and equity applicants to proceed through the permit approval process, but not be barred from applying to have a adult use license in 2018. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Yes, how you doing? My name is James Spangola, and I'm here to support basically the equity act. Hold on, I got it here. The equity applicants, right? Actually, the people that are most affected in my community. I'm out of the Western Addition, and I think holding up on the equity applicants would be definitely devastating to the community, and it doesn't open the doors to the opportunity for the young men that is most impacted in the communities that actually probably been in the business all their lives, right, and know the business well. So I think that actually holding the equity, not focusing on the community and just letting the equity actually go by. So pretty much mine. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, supervisors. Good afternoon. I'm DeAnthony Jones, and I'm speaking here as a citizen, not just to echo the support of the equity applicants, but also just to talk about some of the logic of some of the opposition. Now, I do understand that we don't want our kids to get access to drugs, but the other issue is the underground marijuana economy that by increasing the level 400 feet, that gives them 400 more feet to sell marijuana that isn't regulated, that can get into our hands, the hands of our community youth, and that shouldn't be the case. So by adding legalized marijuana and adding regulations to it, you actually create more safer communities, and you keep those underground economies from affecting our communities. Plus, it will give them an opportunity to give back to the community as well, providing much needed tax funding to our schools that can lead to education on the effects of drugs. And as an aside too, I know we get into this discussion around marijuana, but the most used psychoactive drug in the world is caffeine. And there's 2 Starbucks down the block. And I think it's important to realize that there's logic around education, and the only way we do that is if we not only allow for the underground market to be eliminated, but also allow for these dispensaries to enter into community benefits agreements to promote the education on the safe usage of marijuana and its effects on the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please. As the next person comes up, let me read the other speaker cards because I see other people just crawling up. Candy Crawford, Gilbert Canedo, Shona, Denise Dory, Oscar Islas, John Martinelli, Doug Block again, Weilin Yi, Sonia Ng, Byung Lang, Tony Ma, Goya Wei, Marlene Tran, Sonia Traus, Johnny De La Plaine, DeAnthony Jones, James Springock, and Travis Kelly. Thanks for being here.
Hello, supervisors, chairman. My name is Luke Bruner. I come here today to speak to your better natures. You clearly have heard from many constituents, and it's easy after you've heard so much from so many to ignore common sense and to ignore the will of the people. And I asked myself, how can I reach these supervisors today with all their distractions, with the desire to cut a deal? And I think there's 2 things that may be of interest to you. Perhaps you have not paid attention to the media, oh supervisors. San Francisco Chronicle board editorial, every television station, multiple newspapers, social media flooded in favor of your board immediately implementing rational provisions for Prop 64. Not a handout to a group of pre-existing dispensary owners while you kick the can. Supervisors, that is bad public policy, especially in the era of Donald Trump. The nation and the state of California is looking for you to lead. They are looking for your leadership and your guidance. Now is not the hour for you to abdicate that leadership and guidance. If San Francisco cannot take on the black market, who can? If San Francisco abandons equity at the finish line, why would others ever look at equity or diversity? What hope is there for Los Angeles and Orange County and other jurisdictions without your leadership? Supervisors, I put forward to you that justice delayed is justice denied, and that your unwillingness to do the will of the voters is bad public policy. Thank you for your time and consideration today.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Karen Whitson. I'm the compliance officer for Spark, and I'd like to offer my sincere thanks for your continued deliberation on these important matters. On behalf of Eric Pearson, a member of the Cannabis Task Force and representing dispensing operators, I'm here today to offer comments on a couple issues. First, it's incredibly important to engage the recommendations and support of this legislation by the Cannabis Task Force. The board underwent an extremely deliberative process to create and appoint members to this body. And this body has diligently engaged the public process of discussion to create recommendations that serve the policy process and should not be ignored. Second, I appreciate the supportive amendments offered today by Supervisor Sheehy. In particular, and I'm not sure it was clear in the conversation between Supervisor Farrell and the city attorney, that this amendment would provide a clear pathway forward for non-retail operators registered with the OCC. And it's important to clarify and include language to provide current MCDs and the ancillary operations engaged with registration of the OOC to have temporary permits and convert to adult use by January 1. This provision is absolutely necessary to ensure that retail operators like Spark have continued access to a legal supply chain for Jan 1 and beyond. Moreover, authorizing non-retail supply chain to be permitted could provide a leg up to those equity applicants harmed by the war on drugs and currently engaged in operations across the city. I echo once again the task force recommendations and Jesse Stout's call to authorize equity applicants by the Jan 1 deadline. Finally, I just want to offer my sincere thanks to the board for the hours and hours of deliberation you've engaged, and to Nicole Elliott's Office of Cannabis for her capacity to get up to speed on the state law and prepare the city for facilitation and implementation of MAUCURSA sooner than later. Thanks, and I look forward to your deliberations today and tomorrow.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, supervisors. My name is Joseph Fries. I want to thank you so much for your hard work and time on this issue. I'm a pipeline applicant, and I wanted to echo some of the concerns from other people who are advocating for this plant. I agree with the 600-foot buffer. I think that it's important to have healthy small business development in San Francisco. I also support the idea of having on-site consumption lounges. I likewise think it is extremely important to have, if we do not want people to be creating public safety issues on the streets and in local parks. I also want to advocate on behalf of pipeline MCDs and new equity applications to apply for adult use cannabis permits in 2018. I think that a lot of these pipeline applicants, these people have been putting everything they have into getting a dispensary license for up to 2 years in some cases, putting their entire life savings, putting kind of everything they have at risk to create a small business for themselves and for their families. And I think that it's important that we allow these people to have their chance and to be a part of this industry. I also want to make one more comment about having less dispensaries in San Francisco, and I think that it would actually support the black market. And I want to highlight that the black market cannabis that's being sold is about 85% contaminated with pesticides and with harmful chemicals. Unless people are getting their cannabis safely from dispensaries, they're going to be exposed to harmful pesticides and fungicides that can create a serious public safety issue. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. Shona Gokenar, Executive Director of Axis of Love SF, and I was also a proponent of MCLR, state ballot initiative, and inside of that initiative, we specifically banned de facto bans via zoning, and that's actually what we're looking at here. And it would just be a really sad day if equity ended up just being something on paper and progressive window dressing. I myself was the first applicant who requested a fee waiver for my community center, which we held for 8 years at 1260 Mission. It's incredibly important for low-income and the equity applicants and disabled people to be able to have an even playing field in, the industry that we really helped create. I think the devil in the detail is the daycare issue, and I want to speak to that as a person that also works on child protective issues, and dispensaries are nowhere on the list of things we'd like to see to protect kids in daycare and preschoolers. And it would really, really stop the equity program. And there's no basis for this. This is an aspect of reefer madness that you must let go of. It's 2017.
Hello, supervisors. My name is Cynthia Budi-Harjo. I am a small business owner in San Francisco, providing education and events regarding cannabis use. I am also a homeowner in District 8, and I wanted to advocate for the 600-foot buffer for cannabis businesses. Since in 2016, there were 25.1 million tourists coming into California, which means $9.3 billion is being injected into the state of California. If we were only to even bring in 1% of that 25.1 million people to the state of San Francisco or California, the consumption lounges that are currently available, there are 8 in San Francisco that only fit 175 people, would not even be able to allow 1% of the tourists coming in. So I highly encourage being able to open up for standalone consumption lounges as well as one-day permits or special event permits. Thank you.
Good afternoon, supervisors. Jennifer Garcia, UFCW Local 648, and co-chair of and the labor seat on the legalization task force. The task force has worked for 2 years drafting recommendations, and I thank you for your consideration. I am speaking to you today as an advocate for workers in the cannabis industry and as an advocate for all workers in San Francisco. As you know, Local 648 has a long and proud history of advocacy for workers, their families, and the communities in which we live and work. 648 firmly supports the rights of workers having access to a union if they choose. When workers know their rights and have protections, it raises the standards for all workers in any industry. As workers benefit, the city benefits. Local hire helps ensure that workers' spending dollars are more likely to go to other city businesses. There should be equitable employment opportunities for communities that have been harmed by the war on drugs. The city should also target communities of color for equity permits. Diversity belongs in ownership as well as in the workforce. Having a diverse ownership that reflects the communities in which these businesses are is the best way to ensure a diverse workforce. Please don't stop the equity program. We often forget that an abundance of living wage and wealth-creating jobs exist in low-income communities. We should be careful not to kill these businesses with over-regulation. Small businesses have been an important part of our community in San Francisco. Small businesses provide jobs that can't be outsourced. The business owners usually live in or near the communities in which where their business is. They have multiple interests in their local success. Our local small businesses have been the quiet job creators for decades. 648 supports thoughtful legislation that provides a pathway to existing businesses to come forward and continue to provide jobs for San Francisco workers in this regulated market. The city should encourage and promote a good neighbor culture from the industry as it continues to grow. Good jobs and good businesses are a community benefit, a good start for supporting workers in this industry. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Denise Dory. I'm president of the Central City Democrats, and I'm a longtime cannabis patient before there were cannabis patients. And, well, at least this second time around, after Reefer Madness got hold of us, So, Reefer Madness is, Prop 64 has some Reefer Madness elements to it. It allows Jim Crow laws. So, we hope that you can see these Jim Crow laws for what they are, and I think you can. And I want to thank you for your hard work on these issues, because it's not easy to navigate these issues with so many strong opinions. The herb has improved. The cannabis herb has improved my life. I have a tick bite, so it's really hard to cope with the medications they give me. You know, I've taken enough. There's medication that they give people for leprosy, and I would have gotten over leprosy 5 times, you know, in the time it's taken me to feel better from this Lyme disease. So that won't be, doctors won't be able to prescribe anything for Lyme because they wouldn't even test me. I couldn't even get a single doctor in San Francisco to test me except one, and then, you know, there's no labs for it. So I finally did test positive. So many patients, we need access. We need local access. As it is now, I walk about a mile to get my medicine. That's not too bad. But I would like to walk less distance than a mile. I used earlier, back 10 years ago, I used to only walk about a block to get it, and they shut that down because of Jim Crow type laws. So and I don't want to include daycare centers in the 600-foot rule, and we need on-site consumption because Prop 215 and SB 420 were a huge success. And cannabis users, we have proved that we can be trusted. So please don't let hate groups define San Francisco. Cannabis is a good, it's a good study aid too. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, my name is Gilbert Canedo. I'm a disabled veteran, and I'm in favor of maintaining the state value of 600 feet. All this scare tactics about the kids and cannabis, it can be traced back to Reefer Madness, where Washington, or what was his name, Aslinger, was saying that cannabis causes murder, promiscuity, all these social illnesses, so forth. Cannabis has been around since ancient times. They used it in ancient China. The Native Americans called it the coughing medicine. Jewish people used it. It's been all over the world for thousands of years, hasn't caused any problems until this guy Aslinger in 1940s decided that he wanted to be an overachieving bureaucrat and make it a crime and make it evil, so forth, so forth. So let's go back to the 1600s, the age of reason, and use logic. Okay, let's forget everything else. It's all man-made garbage. Let's go back to the age of reason in the 1600s and use our brains and logic to pass legislation. Thank you.
Hi, supervisors. I'm John Martinelli. I'm a veteran activist for Member Axis of Love and Operation EVAC, which is a veterans group. I'm really here to support the 600-foot rule for being away from schools and to not include the small daycares that dot the city everywhere. And some of the people say, not in our neighborhood. But except for the financial district way downtown, it doesn't matter where you live in the city. It's all neighborhoods. It doesn't matter what storefronts a person driving by sees. People live upstairs in the buildings above these businesses and stuff, and a lot of them are disabled and elderly and underprivileged. And a lot of them are cannabis users. And we need access to compassion, and the dispensaries, though they should be required to have a compassion program, they shouldn't be penalized with permits and taxes on the medicine that they give away to patients. And, well, that's about it. Just vote with your heart on the issues at hand, and things should be all right.
Thank you. Next speaker.
I'm Oscar Islas. I'm also a supporter of Axis of Love. Been a political advocate for a long time. I was born in San Francisco in District 11. I now live in District 9. I'm also for the 600 feet. One thing through my experience of being disabled in a wheelchair is important that patients have somewhere to go. If we're going to have a wreck, is one thing. That could be like a 20-minute limit. But for patients, it needs to be longer, and it needs to be a place where they can at least go besides in the streets, especially if you're in a wheelchair. I'm pretty sure you don't want them smoking near the elevators or muni stops and so on, or even parks, or near children. So it's important that you at least have somewhere for them, as well as for rec, which will bring in a lot of money for those that collect taxes. But let's not forget us patients, and I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good afternoon. I'm Marlene Tran, a retired public school teacher. In addition to the National Affairs article that I put out here, by Jonathan P. Calkins, The Real Dangers of Marijuana, I'm also referring to the just-released San Francisco Public Health Department's report, Cannabis Legalization in San Francisco, a Health Assessment. Please seriously consider the latest research. While there are valid reasons for medical use, there are many risks that can have negative impacts on our vulnerable young population. So I'm showing here a graphic chart of that. They cited secondary effects and the health outcomes such as possible lower birth weight of offsprings, risky behavior, cognitive impairments, traffic problems, and so on. Please consider, okay, let me quote what Supervisor Jane Kim said on October the 3rd. I'm surprised that preschools are not included. San Francisco should consider expanding those regulations to include children under preschool age when it crafts new rules for recreational use. It seems there was an oversight. It certainly makes sense if we're talking about impacts to children under 18. Then the way that we would write the ordinance would include all facilities 0 to 18. Please keep the school buffer zone of 1,000 feet. The school district has not sent any representative to help the children, so we're asking you to fight for the children. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Supervisor, my name is Sonia Ng. I live in San Francisco only 45 years. Therefore, San Francisco had a social problem right now. The picture in the TV, we just took some of them in San Francisco. Those people, before they use marijuana or not, we don't know. But this problem make the San Francisco resident a lot of concern and feel safe is alert. According to the police record, a lot of crime, like Sunset, just last Wednesday, 3 young men, they took marijuana after they broken in one house in Sunset District at the noontime. This is why today we have a lot of local residents from everywhere in San Francisco. We concern our safe. We concern our quality of life being taken away. 64 passed. That means take all the Californians' quality of life away. So special marijuana in the federal is illegal. So please help us. Help us can keep the quality of life and keep 1,000 feet and protect our kids under 18. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, Supervisor. My name is Tony Ma. What a shame. I'm not talking about 1,000 feet or 600 feet. Now it's already happened 0 feet. Why I say that? The city of California, San Francisco opened the door and let the poison drug locusts all over San Francisco. They are very dangerous to all people, and even you guys promote this poison drug to the youth and the youngster and putting this poison drug ad on the multi bus. You know, those poison like a big smiling devil fly around the San Francisco school children playground. They said, come to take it. We also have candy and yummy cookie. Ha ha ha, that's an evil saying. Does this poison drug industry care about us or next generation? They just want more people addicted to this poison drug, and the city will get more devil dirty money. Not only that, the black market drug dealers sell anywhere, cheaper on the street, thanks to those free advertising. San Francisco is not beauty anymore, not safe anymore, dangerous to walk around, and more home invasion because the drug addict criminal want get more money to robbing people. They will attract more homeless people to the city to get their poison drug. Don't you know that marijuana is a very dangerous substance and very harmful to people to take it? San Francisco Health Department indicate marijuana is a very poison drug, and California Traffic School and say taking marijuana is more dangerous to drive than alcohol.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Hi. I'm an SF native who has been a cannabis activist for a very long time. In fact, I circulated petitions for Prop 215 in the early 90s. I've used cannabis to get off like 4 different pharmaceuticals that were having negative side effects, including like gaining like 50 pounds, taking away my sex drive, and becoming pre-diabetic. With that being said, I'm in support of the 600-foot buffer and on-site consumption lounges. I support compassion programs for low-income patients. I do not support neighborhood bans such as the one proposed in Chinatown. Patients shouldn't have to get on a bus and go across town to get medicine. That is often the thing that enables them to even get out of bed. And the thing with the edibles, when did the kids corner the market on sweets? I don't understand it. And, you know, with the opioid addiction, people are using cannabis to get off these addictive painkillers. And, you know, you're worried about, you know, cannabis, and there's people like right across the street in that park shooting up with needles right in front of everybody. And I don't understand. And they're talking about their neighborhoods. There are several collectives that have like neighborhood cleanup programs, which is a positive contribution to their community, so that's like lame. And lastly, on another note, I support the SRO sprinklers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, supervisors. My name is Trevor Martin, San Francisco for Democracy, SF Berniecrats. I'm here to advocate for the 600-foot buffer, on-site consumption, and equity applicants. I'd like to address the misinformation and the campaign of fear that has swept up entire communities of our city. People fear that legalizing cannabis will lead to more teenage use, more traffic fatalities, lower property values, and become a gateway drug. However, that is simply not the reality. As witnessed in states where states and cities that has legalized cannabis, In fact, simple education and facts can dispel the myths behind these. For example, according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, teenage use is at a 20-year low. Property values have gone up, and there has been a spotlight shown on the real gateway drug, which is opiates, pushed by Big Pharma, which could be relieved by marijuana use. And additionally, contrary to some studies, the traffic fatalities in states that have legalized cannabis have gone down or remain unchanged. And finally, states with a robust cannabis industry have seen record job growth and a steady decline in unemployment. The DEA just recently, in February, had to take down the misinformation and misleading lies that was on their website. All right, we need to educate folks. All right, despite what Jeff Sessions thinks, the country is moving forward on marijuana legalization. San Francisco should be at the front of that, and we should do it equitably and fairly. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Sonia Traus. I live in District 6, which has, I guess, the most or second most dispensaries currently. It also is a district of neighborhoods and is residential. So I want to echo some earlier comments that the idea that we could keep the dispensaries out of neighborhoods is silly. No matter what, people live everywhere in San Francisco. And they should live near dispensaries because that's the whole point. You want your customers near you. I'm glad that the existing dispensaries won't have to close. I also want to ask that the equity applicants be able to open in 2018 because otherwise what's the point of the program? I'm disappointed that the board couldn't put together the rest of the program in time for January 1st. I mean, the board's already had a year, but now by pushing it out another year, we're making it a election year issue. Half of the city is going to be voting for a supervisor this coming year while the board is discussing how to regulate opening dispensaries. So for advocates, we're going to have to make sure that candidates know what our position is and demand that they make commitments to open dispensaries in an equitable way all across San Francisco. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Travis Kelly, cannabis industry attorney. I would just like to make a quick comment that any proposed amendment which may limit 2018 adult use activity solely to the now existing MCDs would risk being seen as a brazen giveaway of a monopolistic atmosphere to existing operators. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. And let me call up the last speaker cards that I have. I have Martin Olive, David McCarthy, Mrs. Wong, Audrey Ling, a big group of speaking who need interpretation. All right. Wilson Chu, Susan King, and Nina Parks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Farrell. Good afternoon. My name is Johnny Delaplane. I represent the San Francisco Cannabis Retailers Alliance. We are the progressive and unified voice of cannabis retail, both existing MCDs and pipeline MCD applicants. We support the rights of both existing MCDs and pipeline MCD applicants and new equity applicants to be granted access to adult use cannabis retail permits in 2018. In the Chronicle this morning, I read that permission may only be extended to existing MCDs. I truly hope that is not the intent of this committee to limit it only to existing MCDs. Let's honor the SF values of diversity and inclusiveness. Let's not begin by creating an oligopoly benefiting only existing MCD operators. Not patients, not workers that are asking for jobs, only existing operators. Both versions of the land use bill currently grandfather the pipeline. Let's honor both versions of those bills that were so wisely separated by Chair Peskin, or excuse me, Farrell. Whoops. Okay, off my track. I also support this 600-foot buffer with no childcare. We also support consumption. Think about the folks in public housing and the folks in nursing homes. They need a convenient place to consume. We don't want to criminalize people. We want to give them a convenient, walkable place to consume. So inclusion, diversity, free love. Oh, wait, not free love. Strike that. Inclusion and diversity. And let's have made in SF, sold in SF, and consumed in SF. Thanks, supervisors.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Sherry Lau. And medical cannabis is already 1,000 feet, regulated drug. We are talking about recreational cannabis. Should be more distance, 1,200 to 1,500 feet away, not shorter to 600. State law for medical cannabis is to stay away from any minor 0 to 18. Local laws should include 0 to 5 years old. 1,000 feet, keep it 1,000 feet. Please concern our children's health. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, good afternoon, supervisors. My name is Zoe Polk. I'm the Deputy Director of the Human Rights Commission. And under the leadership of Director Davis, the HRC has made equity a priority for all city departments and making sure that's embedded in the framework of how we provide services for our constituents. We want all departments to be data-driven in their decisions. So we know no matter what the indicator is, whether it's employment, whether it's criminal justice, whether it's housing, the burdens of inequitable decisions, of public policy decisions, have been borne by communities of color. We want people to look at this data and say, how do we make an impact in our city? How do we make our city better for all people and not just some people? We were proud to work closely with the Office of Cannabis on the equity report. And in that report, we hope we conveyed the urgency of infusing equity at the ground level at the cannabis industry. We certainly can't have an industry that was before the legalization of Prop 64, that was born on the shoulders, the burden was born disproportionately on the shoulders of brown and black people, look predominantly white in San Francisco, especially with San Francisco wrestling with the reputation that it only cares or it only caters to a certain demographic. As laid out in the report, the war on drugs in San Francisco has had disastrous impacts for communities of color. They have borne the burden, again, of the bad public policy decisions, and in order for San Francisco to relieve that burden, we need to be intentional about our decision-making here. We need to be intentional about how we're going to relieve that burden and make sure equity is on the ground floor. If San Francisco is committed to undoing institutional and structural racism created and perpetuated by the war on drugs, equity cannot be an afterthought. It cannot start on February 1st. It has to start on January 1st. And we hope the board will join the rest of San Francisco city departments and make equity a priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, supervisors. Thank you for your attention to these important issues. My name is Martin Olive. I'm the president of Vaporum Cooperative, the third permitted MCD in 2006 under Article 33. We operated without complaint or issue in the Lower Haight until 2012. We were forced to shut down during the federal crackdown by U.S. Attorney Melinda Haag. We currently have unanimous Planning Commission approval and a DPH provisional permit for our new location. We're about to submit our building permit to begin renovations. I'm requesting clarity about our permit status in regards to this proposal to restrict who can apply for temporary adult use permits come January. I'm advocating for an equitable process for all dispensaries, currently permitted dispensaries, equity applicants, pipeline applicants, and our little cooperative that seems to be in some sort of gray area regarding these possible changes. The city's intention has always been to allow those approved by planning to proceed. VR has been approved by planning and DPH and was a victim of federal crackdown through no fault of our own. We should be grandfathered in, and the pipeline applicants should be given a fair opportunity to prove they are good neighbors in the upcoming adult use market. I can also tell you from personal experience that the limitations of the green zone in the past years has led to many of the issues you've had to deal with. A quarter of the city is federal property. Almost half the city is purely residential with minimal commercial corridors. Commercial vacancies abound on every corner of this city. Landlords want to rent to responsible businesses. Neighboring businesses want good business operators near them. The process for dispensaries demands community input. Let the communities decide whether an MCD is an appropriate use. Further restriction of the green zone in such a dense environment will only cause more headaches. I understand that there's a vocal minority of opponents. Conversely, there are multiple thousands of responsible, ethical, productive citizens of San Francisco that consume cannabis. They may not all be here today, but their votes counted on Election Day, and they overwhelmingly support access to cannabis throughout the city. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Anna Belda, and I am a 15-year resident of San Francisco, and I just want to support the equity program here in San Francisco. I think San Francisco is a leader in the nation on equity and diversity, and you could really stop a lot of institutional racism that could possibly happen here. So I'm in favor of that. I'm in favor of the 600-foot buffer. People need access. This is medicine. People with disabilities are trying to access this medicine. It should be, as close as possible to them. I am against prohibition of cannabis dispensaries in specific neighborhoods such as Chinatown. I think that this could set a precedent that could get really messy in the future. I think that I don't have to remind you that there is a opiate epidemic right now, but we don't see people protesting Walgreens, So I think that there's a lot of misinformation going on in these neighborhoods that do want this type of prohibition, and I think that there needs to be a focus on educating those people more properly. So just in general, I am in favor of more dispensaries throughout San Francisco, more on-site consumption areas, safer ways for people to access this medicine. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, supervisors. I'm Nina Parks. I'm a co-founder of Supernova Women and also a delivery service operator hoping to become a dispensary in the near future. I would like to echo the voice of my colleagues, Brandon Brown and Jesse Stout, as we're working together on the San Francisco Cannabis Equity Working Group. We are asking for equity first and equity now, not later. In 1981, Nixon's advisor, John Richmond, states in an interview with Lee Atwater, we knew we couldn't make illegal to be against the war or black. But by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and black with heroin, and then criminalize it both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We would arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know that we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. This is the type of thought process that has directed politicians in creating drug policy. So we're asking you guys, our lawmakers, to restore justice and to think with a different mindset. We need, for equity applicants to be able to roll out at the same time as adult use applicants. We want to see everybody thrive. This is a great opportunity for the entire city to be able to create a culture that cannabis really was hoping to create, something based on compassion and equity. So thank you guys for your time and for all your diligent work on this, even though it's a very short time frame that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. Thanks for hearing us yet again. I started off wanting to talk about so many different things, but at this point, I'm hearing so much, and I wanted to address the kind of what I'm hearing is a me, not we approach, which is so different than what I grew up here in San Francisco, where San Francisco has always fought for everyone. And now all of a sudden I hear at so many different levels, fighting for just what I want. So as you guys know, because I've been here and I've told you, I am the owner-operator of a non-conforming cultivation site here in San Francisco. But I'm not gonna talk to you about that at all. I'm gonna talk about access, access, access. You ask us to be good neighbors, but then you tell us we can't be a neighbor. How does that work? You want us to consume, you give us the opportunity to consume, but then you tell us we can't consume it anywhere but our own home if we own that home. How is that access? How is that fair? So instead of giving you the long David McCarthy speech, I just ask that we really look at this at a more we approach instead of a me approach and try to figure out how to get everybody access as soon as possible and as much access as they possibly can. I support 0 feet from a school, but I would love 600 feet. I support a dispensary on every block in San Francisco, but I would support a more common sense approach than only this amount in this neighborhood, but this neighborhood gets more. So thank you very much for listening to you guys. Thank you very much for tackling this. And I look forward to more common sense approaches. Thank you. We, not me.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Susan King. I'm a San Francisco resident and activist. First off, I really wanted to, again, thank you and your colleagues on the board and the department heads, particularly the Office of Cannabis, for really putting a lot of thought into creating a comprehensive and rational policy framework to help manage and support this thriving industry, which is a huge financial opportunity for all of us. I'm particularly interested in the equity program because I think there's nothing that has a Made in SF stamp on it more than something like this equity program, which is being developed, really in real time. And I think that these models are going to be replicable and used throughout the country to other cities that are looking, once again, to San Francisco to see how we do this. The equity program. In order for the equity program to really work, you cannot have policy that contradicts that outcome. And 600 feet is adequate. It's what's been put forward by Prop 64. It should include schools only. Otherwise, you're creating a false scarcity of something that a lot of people want to belong to. And when you make something scarce, the people with the most resources are the people that are going to get it first. And so we don't want San Francisco's equity program here to become nothing but an empty promise. A couple of other things really quickly. Pipeline applicants need to be grandfathered in if they had their applications in on time. We need to really move fast to make sure that there are temporary access permits so we can start at the starting line with other cities on January 1st and be up and running. And finally, compassion is really important as well. Thank you so much again for your time and for your hard work.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, all supervisors. My name is Audrey Liang. I'm a volunteer in SFCC. I'm here to asking you, supervisors, to listen to our community's voice, keep our community safe and healthy, give our children a healthy environment. The recreation cannabis rule should be 1,500 feet away from all schools, includes daycare center, preschool, private school, and public school, from the age 0 to 18. I remember last time when our supervisor Jim Kim mentioned about it, the 0 to 18 is all human being. It's supposed including in the 1,000 feet. But on the last Monday, you have amendment to amend back to 600 feet, exclude 0 to 5. This is very wrong. Do you know our children is our future, our future's leader? Our children need a healthy environment, place to grow and to grow. Please listen to our community's voice. Keep away the marijuana 1,500 feet from those schools. Do you know the medicine marijuana already 1,000 feet from school? Why the recreation marijuana cannabis not 1,000 feet? Please think about that. Think about our children's future, our future's leader. Please listen to our community's voice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, supervisors, and thank you for your time and considerations on these regulations. I know that this is quite the beast to tackle, and I appreciate you tackling it. I'm speaking today in support of not adding any more sensitive uses into our regulations. I think doing that would pretty much eliminate any possibility of anybody being able to open up. It will shrink the availability. I also have some concerns and would like some clarity around the amendments that were introduced today regarding converting to adult use. I am with the Vapor Room team. We were federally interfered with. We were one of the first MCDs to get permitted back in 2005. We shut down. It took us 5 years to find a new spot, and now we are ready to reopen. We have gone through the permitting process. We've been issued our provisional by DPH. Where do we stand with these amendments? Are we considered pipeline? Are we considered equity? Are we considered existing? I'm really unclear. I'd also like to just express my support for the equity permit hold or applicants to be allowed to convert to adult use at the same time as everybody else. It's important that we create a level playing field. So those are my thoughts. I'm available if anybody has any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Wilson Chu, and I'm with the Chinese American Democratic Club. I'd like to, of course, thank the Land Use Committee as well as the Board of Supervisors for taking the time to be able to deliberate on this issue. Again, it's not an easy issue, as well as said by many other speakers. But I am here to advocate for the 1,000 feet buffer against schools to also include child care centers. I think that we should take a measured approach, and in the event that in order to take a measured approach and be able to collect the data to understand what kind of issues would arise with the transition into recreational use. I think that taking that measured approach would also allow us to take an iterative process and allow the evolution of the policy to be able to make amendments for the neighborhoods and for the industry as we see that recreational cannabis becomes more acceptable. With that said, I would hope that we would be able to keep the 1,000 feet buffer as well as include child care centers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Edna James, and I'm president of OMI Community Action Organization, and that's in the Ocean View neighborhood. Now, our neighborhood has had lots of experience with these clubs coming into the area, and we've been overwhelmed in the number of people who've been coming there in our neighborhood. And when we talk about parity, we don't have hotels and things like that to bring income, like restaurants and small restaurants. And so what happened, we've attracted a lot of these cannabis clubs. We have one now coming up for a vapor club. So I'm just asking that be parity. I'm also saying that I know we've set a limit not to move that limit in our neighborhood. And if we talk about parity, let it be parity in all the neighborhoods that have an equal amount rather than just focusing on them going into certain neighborhoods. Also, in speaking on behalf of setting some limits, I wish you'd look at University of California, San Francisco. They have looked at cannabis, and there are some health reasons. And I'm speaking as a nurse also. There are some health reasons involved in other people using cannabis around. I know they say medical reasons, but there are other reasons also. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wow. Next speaker, please.
Terrence Allen, chair of your task force, and speaking as a cannabis patient since the 80s when I was diagnosed with HIV. I'm alive today because of cannabis. I echo what Supervisor Sheehy says about the availability not only of cannabis, but the socialization atmosphere that allows us to be real people. HIV patients were given a death sentence. We no longer have that. But there are other diseases that cannabis can greatly improve the quality of life for, and we need to make sure that those have a place. Because there is nothing, there's no equity, there's no business, there's no future without land use. Everyone has to have a place, and the place needs to be fairly distributed. I live in District 6. We have a lot of dispensaries. You know what? District 6 is not at any economic disadvantage. I'm being evicted because of the economic advantages in District 6. The high-rises are moving down the street. The people are moving in. And guess what? The propensity of cannabis dispensaries has had no impact on the expansion of residential in District 6. So we all talk about wanting to have experience. We have 20 years of experience with Prop 215. And I can tell you in District 6, we have a lot of experience with cannabis, and none of it supports restrictive zoning. The task force recommended 500 feet. I sincerely hope that we get there at some point. Thank you for listening. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Ellen. I am a family social worker. I am here from San Francisco Community Empowerment Center. I am here at the request of community to do interpretation. 你開始啦。
大家好，我係叫黃陀谷，我係住喺6區。
I am a resident from District 6.
我要求呢，你哋向我哋嘅聲音。
I am here to request that you hear our voices and concerns.
大麻店係要離開學校1500尺。
Cannabis stores should be stay away from children and kids 1,500 feet.
包括日落區，即係托兒所、幼兒園、中學、小學，一律都要離開。
Include Sunset District, that is preschool, daycare, middle school, elementary school, and high school.
因為大麻係毒品嚟嘅，影響青少年。
Cannabis influence and damage kids' behavior and brain development.
我哋大家係反對6尺。
We are here to oppose cannabis. Stay away 1,000 feet from kids.
1500尺。
We ask for 1,500 feet. Thank you. 你講。
你哋好，我叫倫慧
Hello.
儀，我要求政府將大麻店離開學校1500尺。
I am here to request all of you politicians to listen to our voices and concerns. MCD or cannabis should be away from kids 1,500 feet.
包括日間嘅托兒同埋學前班、中小學校，0歲到18歲。
All minors 0 to 18 include daycare, preschool, and any kids under 18.
大家好，
Hello.
我係叫余新體。
I am Mrs. Yi.
我要求政府將大麻店遠離學校1500尺。
I am here to request all the politicians sitting up there stay away from kids 1,500 feet.
包括日間學兒所0歲到18歲。
Any facility serve 18 years and younger, include daycare and preschool. Thank you. 你對住個咪講。
大家好。
Hello, good afternoon.
我名係殷兆禧，我係住喺唐人埠嘅。
I am Yan Xiuhei. I live in Chinatown area.
我今日嚟到咧，同埋我啲鄰居啦、朋友啦，同埋有啲家人都一齊嚟嘅。
I am here with my family and neighbors and people from Chinatown.
我哋堅決反對大麻店咧喺600尺以內嘅咧開設。
I am here to strongly oppose no cannabis store within 600 buffer zones.
在嗰啲學校嘅同埋嗰啲華人鄰居都要禁止佢600尺喺度開店嘅。
Especially away from kids and children.
我哋一定要1500尺先能夠批准佢開。
I am here strongly requested all of the politicians and people sitting up here 1,500 away from kids.
因為大麻咧歷史性對我哋唐人嘅後代咧係危害萬年嘅。
We have a history in Chinese history that if we know, we learn about cannabis, and it's very damaging and bad for children.
Thank you.
Thank you. 你對個咪講，對住個咪講。
你係政府官員咯，各位。我係劉顯良。我咧就希望你哋政府發呢個牌照俾佢咧，要離開呢個學校咧1500尺，因為呢毒品咧係有害嘅，對於青少年啊。
我翻譯唔到啊。
你講。
你講多次你個名。
我係劉顯良。
I am Mr. Lau Hin-young, and I'm here to request to ask you to make laws that is appropriate, cover the kids 1,500 away from children.
我希望咧，你政府所發嘅牌咧，對啲青少年咧 近呢學校近得近嘅嚟講，確係有影響嘅。
I want you to think about it. When you give permission and give a permit to operate cannabis stores, think about the kids nearby, think about the youth nearby.
希望佢咧要離開咗咧600尺，最少都要1000至1500尺。
Do not allow any permit to operate cannabis store within 600 buffer zone. Please increase to 1,000 minimum. The best is 1,500 feet away from kids.
包括日頭呢個中小學細路仔零嘅，即係細路仔。
Any children 0 to 18.
Thank you.
Thank you.
你們好。
Hello, good afternoon.
我個名叫廖翠燕。
My name is Lin Juyi.
我要求政府呢，讓艾瑪任離開學校，呢停500尺。
I am here to request the governor, the government people in here, the representation from the government, to set up rules 1,500 feet away from kids.
我覺得揀啲學寓所啊、學停班啊、中小學校，同埋18歲嘅呢，同幾好。
I understand that the children 0 to 5, 0 to 18 are important, so I'm here to ask you stay away from the children and the kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, 我係莫群英。
Good afternoon. My name is Wang Qingying.
莫群英。
莫群英。
我要求你們政府將大麻店離開學校1500尺，包括日間托兒、學前班、中小學，因為大麻是毒品，毒害我啲子孫後代。
I am here to request all of you to set up rules, stay away from kids 0 to 18, and I understand that they're very harmful to my grandkids and my kids. 咁快嘅就得。
Hello.
Good afternoon.
我係朱內劍。
My name is Ji Noi Kim.
我依家要求政府將嗰個大麻店離開學校，要1500尺。
I am here to request government officials to set up rules that is 1,500 feet away from children.
包括嗰啲日間嘅學寓所
，include daycare，
同埋學校嘅學前班
，and preschool and any school age 0 to 18。
嗰個要0到18歲。
Minors from 0 to 18.
Thank you.
Thank you.
大家好。
Good afternoon.
我叫歐陽。
My name is Ao Yang.
大家好，我叫歐陽。
Good afternoon again. My name is Ao Yang.
我要求市政府將大麻店離開學校1500尺。
I am here to ask you as government officials to think about and set up rules 1,500 feet away from children and youth.
包括日間托兒
，include daycare，
學前班
，preschools，
中小學校
，middle school, high schools，
仲有年齡到1到18歲。
and anybody who's from birth 0 to 18.
因為大麻對身體有害嘅。
We know cannabis is harmful to healthy people.
對青少年有好大嘅影響。
Especially influence negatively to youth.
我講嘅係咁多，多謝。
Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
大家好。
Good afternoon, everybody.
我係志口時。
My name is Ji Hao Sim.
我希望市政府嘅負責人發呢牌俾去大麻店嗰啲人呢，就離開學校1500尺以外。
I am here to ask government officials and representatives, when you give permit and approve permit for people who sell cannabis, must be stay away from kids 1,500 feet.
因為大麻係毒品嚟嘅，對啲小孩18歲以下嘅青年咧係有害㗎。
According to what I know, cannabis is a poisoning drug, it's an illegal drug, and it's very harmful to youth and children.
多謝。
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
大家好，
Hello, good afternoon.
我叫高耀威，
My name is Cao Yu Wei.
住緊三區。
I am a resident from District Number 3.
我認為大麻呢對人身體係有害嘅。
有咩話？
有害。
I understand that there's a harmful substance in cannabis.
咁所以呢，要求政府發牌嗰陣呢，要到呢個離開學校咧1500以上先至好。
So I'm here to voice out my concern that if you giving permit for people who sell cannabis, think about the children. Stay away from children and youth, 1,500 feet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
大家好。
Good afternoon.
我叫梁碧雲，
My name is Leung Bik Wan.
住在唐人坡。
I live in Chinatown.
我要求尊重我哋嘅意見。
I am here to ask you to respect our culture, respect our voice, respect our concern.
不要開大麻店，對於呢個小孩身體健康有害。
You know cannabis is harmful to youth and children.
我哋唔同意呢個開大麻，離開大麻1000尺。
I am here to oppose any permit that allow cannabis should be away 1,500 feet from children. Thank you.
你們好。
Good afternoon.
我叫根生。
My name is Kwan.
我住在大陸區。
I am a resident of District Number 6.
我要求你們向公眾嘅聲音。
I am here to request you listen to the people's voice, the voice of residents.
將大麻染轉嚟學校、校吉、日間、學藝、學田灣、小學、中學。
Allow cannabis operate only farther away from children, daycare, preschool, any youth 0 to 18.
兩個18歲。
0 to 18 should be stay away from any cannabis stores.
要轉嚟1500尺之外。
I'm here to request 1,500 buffer zones.
為免大麻害小孩。
To prevent cannabis damage to anybody who's from 0 to 18.
Thank you.
Thank you. 多謝。
Thank you. Next speaker.
大家好。
Good afternoon.
我是梁美娥。
My name is Leung Mei O.
我是第6區。
I am a resident from District Number 6.
反對大麻。
I am here to oppose cannabis.
大麻是毒品。
We know cannabis is an illegal drug.
讓大麻有倫理學校。
Please, when you approve permits, stay away from children, farther away from children.
大麻要離大麻1500公尺。
I am here to request 1,500 buffer zone.
包學生幼兒園。
Include preschool daycare 0 to 5.
到18歲。
0 to 18, all of them.
謝謝。
Thank you.
Hello， 我姓趙嘅。
Hello, my name is Mr. Jiu.
我希望政府將大麻店遠離學校150尺。
I am here to ask the government representative.
多謝。
你咁快我都未翻譯完，你就走咗去咯，係嘛？
因為大麻有毒嘅，傷害人。
I am here to request the government officials and representatives to set up rules 1,500 feet away from children and minor from 0 to 18. 係嘛？Okay. Thank you. 你唔使咁快講啊，佢未講完走晒。你講兩句，你超過到我翻譯唔到啊。OK。
下午好。
Good afternoon。
我姓黃啊。
My last name is Wang。
因為大麻咧對青少年嘅成長咧有毒害作用，所以我懇求政府咧立例。
I am here to oppose cannabis near children. As you know, cannabis is harmful to children and youth.
管制大麻。
Set up regulations to protect children.
大麻店要遠離嗰個教育機構呢1500尺。
I am here to request any educational facility, the cannabis should be away 1,500 feet. Thank you. Good afternoon.
大家好，我係叫余女士。我貴住喺大陸區。
咩區話？
我貴住喺大陸區。
I am a resident from District Number 6.
我反對大麻店。
I am here oppose cannabis stores.
我要求政府限制大麻店。
I am here to ask the government officials to limit the number of cannabis stores.
大麻店一定要遠離學校100公尺之處。
Any cannabis stores should be away from 0 to 18 age. 1,500 feet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you guys can keep it down while people are talking, thank you.
Well, just so you guys know that there's people speak different dialects, okay? They're Toisanese, Mandarin, and Cantonese, so I have to digest what they said first. All right.
I wasn't talking to you, I was talking to the public.
我喺呢度要求政府聽個民意，嗰大麻店開放。
你姓咩啊嘛？
我姓余國。
My name is Yi Kwak. I am here to ask the government officials to listen to people's voice and people's concerns.
我要求政府聽個民意。
Please listen to the voice of people.
嗰啲大麻店開放應該離開學校1500公尺以內。
Please help set regulations 1,500 buffer zone away from children and kids.
唔好毒害我啲青少年後代。係咁，拜拜。
Do not set regulation that is allow the cannabis to poison. I'm just translating. Poison the kids.
Thank you.
Thank you. 你對住個麥講。
大家好。
Good afternoon.
我姓葉㗎。我要求政府嚟去大麻店近某間學校要1500尺讀青少年我所講到啦。
你企喺度等我放你翻譯完你走嘛。Good afternoon. I am here to oppose and ask the government officials to set up rules and regulations to protect children 1,500 buffer zone away from any minor 0 to 18. Thank you. 你對住個麥講。
大家好，我哋姓李嘅。
Good afternoon. I am from the Lee family.
我哋住喺樂區。
I am a District 6 resident.
我哋翻去挨埋600尺。
I am here to oppose 600 feet cannabis store.
要求1500尺。
I am here to request 1,500 buffer zone.
多謝。
Thank you. 你講得啦。你講得啦，你可以說啦。
對住你講，佢係六合莊，個名六合莊，你講。
My name is 陸合莊。你係咪有啲講嘢問題？你說東西有沒有問題？佢耳聾啊！He had a problem with hearing。咁你想講乜嘢？我同你講，你想說什麼？
唔識嘅。
反對。OK. He's here to oppose cannabis. 你聽唔到，你但係睇到啦嘛？有冇人可以帶佢翻去啊 ？OK， 你帶佢翻去。He had a problem hearing. OK。
大家好。
Good afternoon.
我係姓雷嘅。
Last name Louis.
我咧反對嗰啲開大麻店啊，離嗰啲後區太近，600尺係唔啱嘅。我哋要求咧政府有1500尺以外啦開。
I am here to oppose cannabis store that open within 600 buffer zones. I am here to support 1500 buffer zone.
因為大麻咧都係有毒嘅，多數咧都係有害嘅，好處咧好少嘅。
You know, cannabis is more negative impact than more positive impact in our life.
影響咧青少年啊，因為青少年咧唔識乜嘢毒唔毒啊，佢哋離後區太近啊，佢就會染到佢去買嘢嚟食嘅。
If it is too closer to any facility 0 to 18, there might be a chance for people, the youth, get early exposure, then they might have a chance to get cannabis earlier than you and I think.
我希望政府咧要求嗰啲賣大麻店嗰啲人咧唔能夠太近啊，遠離1500尺嘅。
So I'm here to ask the government officials to think about regulations, to think about the children, stay away from kids.
為了下一代啊，青少年啊，我哋培養啲青少年又好啊，所以要遠離啊。多謝。
We spend a lot of time to take care of the future leaderships, the youth and the children. So please help us. Okay. Thank you.
你哋好。
Good afternoon.
我叫做林素貴。
My name is Lam Suk Chan.
我係居住喺第3區嘅。
I am a resident of District Number 3.
我要求你哋聽取我哋嘅聲音。
Please listen to our residents' voice.
多為我哋嘅下一代着想。
Think about our next generations.
娛樂大麻嘅規則應該距離。
Recreational cannabis, the rules and regulations should be stay away.
所有學校包括日學學兒中心、學前班、公立同埋私立學校。
Stay away from private school, public school, 0 to 18 facilities that include daycare, preschool, elementary school, middle school, and high schools. Any school at all.
年齡由0到18歲。
0 to 18. All minors should be protected.
嗰個距離喺1500尺之外。
Should be away 1500 buffer zone.
多謝。
Thank you.
大家好。
Good afternoon.
我個名係叫做劉長欣。
My name is Liu Zhangyan.
我要求政府呢將大麻店遠離學校1500尺。
I am here to request the government, the people represent government, to set up rules, stay away from children, 1500 feet.
因為大麻呢係毒品，毒害我哋啲小朋友。
We know from experience, cannabis is an illegal drug.
Thank you.
Thank you. 你講得 thank you， 我唔使講 thank you 啦。個咪。
Hello， 大家好。
Good afternoon.
My name is Guilin Chan.
My name is Guilin Chan.
Chinatown.
I am from Chinatown.
反對大麻店，有求市政府呢離開學校1500尺。
I am here to oppose cannabis. I am from Chinatown. Stay away from children and youth 1500 feet.
因為大麻呢係毒品嚟嘅。呢青少年呢唔識嗰呢有離去嘅安全呢唔好接近佢。多謝。
你企度等我同你翻譯完走好嗎？I am here to oppose the reason, as you know, youth and younger people, they are so naive and sometimes they get early exposure to try the drugs earlier. And we know from experience, cannabis is an illegal poisoning drug. Okay.
Thank you.
Hello， 大家好。
Good afternoon.
超助理。
My name is Chiu Zhou Li.
我要求政府咧將大麻禁止離學校，包括日間學兒所學停班，同埋2歲到18歲，
I am here to request the government officials to set up rules and regulations to protect children from 0 to 18, that is include daycare, preschool, elementary school, middle school, and high school, and any school serve 0 to 18. 1,500 feet away from any minor. Stay away from our next generation. Thank you.
Thank you.
你對住個咪講。
大家好，
Good afternoon.
我叫包依亮，
My name is Bo Yi Liang.
我住喺紅園坊，
I live in Chinatown.
要求政府嚟艾瑪 M 嚟學校要1,500尺。
I am here to request the regulations set up 1,500 feet away from children.
Thank you.
Thank you.
各位好。
Good afternoon.
我認為呢，大馬呢，我哋青少年呢，有呢個學會方面學會嘅多
跟老。Oh, I am here to oppose cannabis near children because I know cannabis is bad for youth.
青少年呢係我哋國家咯未來嘅接班人。
The youth will be the future leader for our nation.
係呢個建設者。
咩章啊？
建設者，建設者。
唔識。
唔識。建設者。
有冇人識佢講呢句？
佢啊。
The youth, our future leaders.
所以咧唔好學會嘅青少年。
Stay away from youth.
多謝。
Thank you.
Next speaker. Next speaker, please. So, Ace, if you want to come up while we're waiting for the interpreter to come back up, come on up, Mr. Washington. Go ahead. Why don't you drink some water? Oh, go ahead.
大家好。
Good afternoon.
我係住喺新界嘅。
I am a resident from Sunset.
即係我希望政府同埋主參事咧聽我哋嘅聲音。
I hope all the board of supervisors and government officials listen to our voice.
將個大麻店咧距離係1,500尺。
15 buffer zone that should be set up for the kids.
就保護啲細路仔啊，嗰啲學生啊，啲0至到18歲嘅青少年。
Protect students, youth, and anyone 0 to 18.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Song Wong. 需要翻譯。
OK， 唔需要翻譯。
需要。
Oh, OK。
我喺呢度長話短説。
I am here to make it short.
大家要講嘅已經好多㗎啦。我哋堅持係大麻店遠離我哋1,500尺以上。
As you heard so many comments before me, there are many people like me right here to request you 1,500 away from kids.
正如猶太人唔食豬肉。
Just like Jews do not eat pork.
印度人又唔食牛肉。
Indians do not eat beef.
咁我哋呢唔要大麻店喺我哋嘅社區。
Our community do not want cannabis in our community.
咁點解要話我哋係仇恨嘅社區呢
？Why call us hate groups?
爭取權利係我哋嘅權利。
We are here to advocate ourselves as part of democracy.
所以希望聽取我哋社區嘅生活方式。
So respect our lifestyle, respect our community.
唔好歧視我哋。
Do not discriminate us.
熱愛優質生活嘅社區。
We love our life. We love our lifestyle.
多謝你哋俾我哋有機會喺呢度發言。
Thank you for allowing us to speak in front of you. Thank you. Thank you.
大家好。
Good afternoon.
我要求政府將艾瑪飲離開學校第1,500尺，包括日間幼兒園嘅0歲嘅年齡18歲。
I am here to ask all the government officials who are able to make rules and regulations take into consideration 0 to 18 include daycare, preschool, middle school, elementary school, and high school 0 to 18. Thank you. They left so early. 你對住個咪。Good afternoon.
我係張慧麗。
My name is Zhang Wei Lai.
我希望呢政府呢聽我哋們意見。
I hope that the government officials respect our voice.
唔好近住嗰度開大麻店。
When we don't want it, don't come to give it to us.
要離開1500尺。
Stay away 1,500 buffer zone from children.
呢包括啲幼兒啊、托兒啊、學生啊，近住就唔係咁好。希望呢政府就聽我哋嘅大家話。Thank you.
Include daycare, preschool, and please listen to our residents' voice, and thank you. 你講葵快。
Ma'am, you can stay there and interpretate to them people what I'm getting ready to say, okay?
I am not here to interpret for you.
No,
I'm
you
here
could
to interpret
you could
for
interpret
them.
English to them because they don't understand what I'm saying. Oh my God, could you do that for me, please? Thank you. My God, because the last thing I heard you say that okay, I'm talking to the mic.
Ace, talking to the microphone.
Not on. It's not on. Testing. 1, 2. Here we go. All right. Anyway, I wanted the interpreter to tell these people here, most of them are my age and look a little older. I'm 63 years old. I'm a baby boomer. I got kids, I got grandkids, and I got great-grandkids. So my question to all of y'all that stay over in that side of the city, where are your grandkids at? I'm sure they wouldn't come up here saying what y'all saying. Marijuana, most of y'all should be smoking it so you can feel better. And if y'all don't know nothing about that, did y'all know about the white China heron that y'all brought in our country, into our community? You talking about 1,500 feet? I dare y'all. Even though y'all don't know, I'm not blaming y'all, but damn it, I'm a baby boomer. And I'll be damned if I'm going to let y'all get up here and say what y'all don't want in y'all community. We didn't have a choice to tell what we didn't want in our community when they brought that white China and all that heron in my community. So why are you here talking about something? Talk to your grandkids. See if they don't want no marijuana. Maybe y'all should be smoking some of it. And then you probably can speak like we or do something. But I don't appreciate, oh, maybe I better appreciate, because whoever organizing y'all, they're doing a good job. Because y'all are, down to y'all too. Down to y'all too. All right. Anyway, come on, I've never heard. Hold up. How can the audience do that?
Hey, hold on.
Hey, why you come over at me? That you should go back to them. I'm only speaking my piece.
Ace.
My name is Ace. I'm on the case.
Ace. Mr. Washington. Mr. Washington. All right, get him out. That's it. Hey. We're in recess.
區嘅廖內華。
I live in District Number 3. My name is Liu Li Hua.
我有僑政府去外賣任有離開，呢攤500尺，我你話600尺去換啦，佢認為咧唔散難言嘅啦，係冇好處㗎，佢唔識呀。你話佢啲外賣或者有啲冇行，有啲旗下㗎呀。
I am from District Number 3. I am here to request the government official to set up rules 1,500 buffer zone away from children because the children sometimes they are acting naive, they are gullible, they are not able to think what's right and wrong.
When
the youth and the children passing by the area where cannabis, secondhand smoking, they are damage to their health.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello， 大家好。
Good afternoon.
我係姓林㗎。
My last name is Lim. 你對埋啲咪。
我希望政府又保護啲兒童，保護我哋啲後代。
I am here to request the government officials to protect our generation, our children, and the next generation to come. Please set up regulation 1,500 buffer zone away from children and youth.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Liu Li.
我咧好極對，我聽到大麻俾嚟毒害青少年，我個心好痛。一定要大家要齊心合力反對，堅決支持。
I am in a lot of pain when every time I
遠離學校，遠離啲公共場所。
I am in a lot of pain every time I heard about cannabis because I know cannabis is harmful to people. Stay away from people.
大家好。
Good afternoon.
叫嘅I'm要嘅係要求政府嚟學生呢學校嚟去嚟一停默冊，中學嘅小學嘅要藝員。
I am from Sunset. I am here to request. To set up rules 1,500 buffer zone away from children and youth. As you can see, I am old, but I'm here to request you to protect our children. Thank you. She speaks a different dialect. I had to learn that dialect, okay?
Hello. My name is Betty.
Okay.
Yeah. My name is Betty. Today I'm here the first time to learn to speak to you all. I'm come here to against the 600 square foot buffer zone. We want a 1,500, and we want and also want to extend the age from 0 to 18. Save our children. That we hope that you guys to use your intelligence to decide to make the rule right. Thank you.
大家好。
Good afternoon.
我叫張兆英。
My name is Miss Zhang.
我要求政府部門。
I am here to request government officials.
將大麻嘅店咧要離開學校。
Stay away from school.
學校都要離開。
Stay away from any school.
托兒所。
Daycare.
仲有嗰個係18歲以下嗰啲少年。
Any centers that serve 0 to 18.
因為呢啲毒品店咧好影響呢啲嘅青少年嘅成長，所以我哋一定要反對 啊，唔好即係要遠離呢個嚇。
I am here to strongly oppose cannabis store that next to children. Stay away from children.
Thank you.
Thank you.
大家好。
Good afternoon.
My name 魏千旺。
講得啦，你講得啦。
我要求政府咧，將大麻店開設離學校咧有1500尺。
I am here to request the government officials to set up rules and regulations 1,500 buffer zone away from any children.
關心一下，你睇少年。
Think about and care about the youth.
你艾麻咧係危害身體健康嘅。
You and I know cannabis is not good for healthy people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
我咧就反對開咁多嘅大麻店啦。
I am here to oppose there's so many cannabis stores already in San Francisco.
因為開得太多啦。
Too many.
Yeah. 同時咧對啲人咧身體健康好有大嘅問題。
For the people who are healthy, there's no need for cannabis. It's bad for them.
OK， 我想佢開大麻店咧有3000尺咁遠咯。
I am here to request buffer zone 3,000 feet away from anybody who do not want it.
因為我唔想吸二手大麻煙啦。
For example, myself, I do not want to smoke second-hand cannabis smoking.
因為我如果入去開咗之後咧，我驚出街啊，治安嘅問題。
When I think about cannabis store next to my home in my neighbor, I reluctantly will go out.
Yeah， 同時咧，即係啲人咧。即係治安好亂咯。
We understand there might be bad neighborhoods that created more crimes when there's more cannabis stores. There might be robbery associated with cannabis stores. Thank you.
Supervisors, my name is Richard Lau. I'm a resident of Chinatown. We are very fortunate to have Ayatollah to oversee Chinatown. They chase away all the marijuana shops. And today I ask all your supervisors maintain this way. We don't want marijuana shops in Chinatown. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Leslie Valencia. I am not an SF resident, but I am part of the SF Cannabis Equity Working Group. And as a researcher, I completed one of the first and most comprehensive reports on equitable cannabis policy at UC Berkeley and in partnership with the Greenlining Institute. I feel compelled to speak today because I am highly concerned about adult use permits being issued prior to equity permits. Not only does this create a temporary monopoly of existing businesses that have been able to survive/flourish due to a certain level of privilege, it also opens the doors for the opposition to continue to push inequitable zoning and land use restrictions. Although their concerns are non-existent yet, they are more prone to happening in an adult use setting that is not fully flushed out. And if this is a regulatory experiment, I understand the value in that, but it should not be done at the expense of equity applicants since they already have to navigate a very inequitable landscape. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Come on up.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
我係住喺三藩市新社區嘅。
I am a resident from Sunset.
我代表我哋社區好多居民嘅意見。
I am here representing many neighbors and community members.
堅決支持幾位市三市提出嘅限制大麻店過度擴張嘅提議。
I am here to support many of you supervisors already saying that the limit number of cannabis stores in San Francisco.
堅決支持大麻店必須離開學校1000尺以上。
I am here also support minimum 1,000 buffer zone away from any children.
包括公立私立嘅小學、preschool 同埋嗰啲托兒班。
Include all private school, public school, preschool, daycare, and any public school or any school.
我個人 倡議呢係要1500尺以上。
I personally propose 1,500 buffer zone away from kids.
但係市參事威震高最近講呢，佢話以上嘅建議呢係扼殺咗大麻行業。
But Scott Wiener has been publicly acknowledged that the vocal minority killed the cannabis industry.
而家三藩市城市規劃部門呢已經批准咗40幾間大麻店開設。
The San Francisco Planning Department already approved 40-something cannabis store in operation already.
而且而家已經有38間呢大麻店已經喺度做生意啦。
We know 38 MCD already in operation.
威信高呢完全唔顧呢個事實。
Scott Wiener did not acknowledge these current cannabis stores.
佢嘅目的是否要讓大麻店喺三藩市泛濫成災，才肯罷休呢？
What is the intention for Scott Wiener to talk about the cannabis store? Will it be flatly become an industry, a tourist industry? San Francisco will be the industry for cannabis.
咁樣才叫做唔扼殺大麻行業呢？
Does this mean that we're going to have a cannabis city, then it become a better for everybody or for him?
威信高不但違反選民嘅意願。
Scott Wiener killed the democracy of all residents' voices and concerns.
也違反佢去年競選嘅承諾。
And he is violate his own promises to the people who voted for him last year.
佢舊年講，佢話你哋選民想要嘅就係我想要嘅。
Last year, Scott Wiener said, "Whatever you want is what I want." That's what he promised the people who voted for him.
現在市民想要嘅，佢就偏偏反對。
Now the residents want no cannabis from the community who opposed it, but now he wants to put it in the community where opposed the most.
呢種違背民意同埋違背承諾嘅人。
This is not keeping a promise that he has said to people who voted for him.
我哋市民也會用選票對佢說 no。
From now on, we're going to say no to Scott Wiener. Our votes.
大麻與我哋華裔嘅傳統文化係相抵觸嘅。
As you all know, cannabis is a violation for our culture, the Chinese culture.
正如伊斯蘭嘅社區、伊斯蘭教嘅社區反對喺佢哋社區開設賣豬肉鋪一樣。
Same thing like Jews, they do not approve pork stores in their community. 冇啦，講完啦。Thank you. 你講 ，OK。
Hello， 多謝各位，多謝各位 ，Thank you very much。 各位 supervisor， 我 James Singh 係 District 11。
Thank you everyone for serving the city and thank you for coming everybody who voiced out concerns. I am a resident of District number 11.
我好感恩呢個國家同埋三藩市政府。
I am very thankful to the United States government and the people of San Francisco.
美麗嘅國家。
A beautiful city, a beautiful country.
自由嘅地方。
Freedom of choice.
勇士嘅家園
，Veterans Home。
我哋有美麗嘅城市
，We had a beautiful city here in front of us。
乾淨嘅食水
，We have clean water in San Francisco。
清新嘅空氣
，We have fresh air right now。
各種民族互相包容。
We have multicultural and multi-dialect and multi-language in San Francisco. We are a harmony community right now.
多元化嘅社區
We are multicultural community.
所以我好感恩市政府各位市參事同埋各位委員。
I am very thankful to all of you sitting up here today, Board of Supervisors and city government officials.
你哋有效嘅工作。 我多謝你一年喺今年2010年有成效為我哋市民服務，我再次多謝你哋。
I am very thankful for all of you do in 2017 until today, and thank you for all your work serving the city. Thank you.
我哋要尊重不同嘅文化種族。
We respect different culture.
文化嘅傳統。
culture heritage.
唔同嘅聲音，
different voices.
互相尊重。
We accept and support each other's cultures.
沒有仇恨，
No hate.
只有愛。
We love each other.
只有包容。
We accept each other.
我嘅心
My heart.
永遠喺三藩市。
My heart is in San Francisco.
I love you all.
I love you all.
I love you all.
I love you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ng.
Hello，你好。
Good afternoon.
我係住在第三區。
I am a resident of District Number 3.
施素正。
My name is Xi Zhong Zheng.
我希望啲官員啊，有極力反對嗰啲大麻對個學校啊、旗下嘅幼兒園、學兒所，嗰啲一定要離開1500尺嘅範圍。
I am here to oppose the regulation that is not good for children. I am here to request to put in 1,500 buffer zone away from any children 0 to 18.
特別咧大麻啦，同埋咧嗰啲白粉咧係冇距離嘅。
I don't think there's a difference between cocaine and cannabis.
嗰啲公共場所咧，嗰啲食大麻噶，但好幾公場啊，佢都聞到嗰啲味啊，有人咧都係。 聞到㗎，呢婆仔嘅。
As I sometimes pass by the public areas, I sometimes smell cannabis, and it's not good for anybody's health.
特別咧，佢啲有人啊，你佢食嗰啲乜嘢咧，佢都俾啲大麻放入話呢度危害嗰啲小體啊，好危險嘅。
You know, cannabis is pretty damage to anybody, especially youth.
係，我哋係咁多啦，謝謝，拜拜。
Thank you for listening to our voice.
Next speaker, please.
My name is Christine Moyer. I'm from District 6, and I'd like to register my support for the 600-foot regulation. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, supervisors. My name is Dr. Chris Emerson. I am a co-founder and chief scientist of a cannabis manufacturing facility in District 6. First off, I'd like to thank all of you, supervisors, staff of various San Francisco departments, and especially Ms. Elliott with the Office of Cannabis, for the tireless and relentless work you guys have all put in. This has been a huge resource sink for all of us at this time, but it's necessary because we're standing on the precipice of a very historic event. Last year, November, 400,000 San Francisco voters voted to pass Prop 64 at over 74%. Not only did they expect that January 1st they will have access to adult use cannabis in San Francisco, they also voted for an equity program. If we shut down pipeline applicants and equity applicants to have MCDs starting January 1st of 2018, effectively you will destroy the entire equity market. If we don't have a diversity of retail, we cannot have a diversity of products. I'm not sure if the board understands the challenges of producers even trying to get their products on the shelves in San Francisco in an already very competitive and, frankly, saturated market. So if you have equity applicants that are coming in and now you're not going to allow them to have an outlet until 2019 to actually build a business and try and scale as potentially first-time entrepreneurs, this ban of 2018 is essentially going to destroy the entire equity market in San Francisco. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Any other members of the public wish to comment, please line up against the far wall. We're going to wrap up public comment here, it looks like.
在座仲有邊個想發言嘅？請你哋企定喺度準備發言。還有誰要說話的？站在一起。你講。I have no idea. Can you say it about the overhead? Okay, here we go. Good. That's the overhead. 你講啦。
各位市參事。
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors.
我係住喺三藩市27年嘅市民。
I am a resident of San Francisco 27 years.
關於大麻嘅開大麻店嘅立法，我希望 所有嘅政府官員、立法機關嘅參事。
About the regulations, legislation, and laws for cannabis that we're talking about today, I hope that all the people are paying attention.
立法嘅時候應該係將保護青少年嘅利益擺喺第一位。
When you set up rules, think about the children and youth that they have no voices. Then you guys should put these people in front of you.
呢個係市衛生局嘅一個長達19頁嘅報告。
What you see in the projector right here is 19 pages of comprehensive analysis from San Francisco Department of Public Health.
報告研究咗好耐一段時間先做出嚟嘅。
The analysis was from different angles and different comprehensive reports.
佢表明好多證據表明，藥用大麻店同埋成人使用嘅零售購買大麻，可能會對青少年產生同酒精同埋煙酒一樣嘅呢個行為影響。
In this comprehensive 19 pages report, it already clearly explained cannabis, adult use and medical use is same like alcohol and smoking.
呢個報告觀察到過去10年裏邊
，this report is about 10 years of history.
大麻中毒住院同埋送急診率明顯上升。
The cannabis-related hospital crisis and hospital staying has been increased.
由06年到10年，由11年到15年期間。
From 2006 to 2010. And from 2010 to 2015,
大麻中毒住院率上升咗137%。
The cannabis-related hospital staying and hospital crisis increased 136%.
送醫急診率增加咗88%。
For emergency, increased 88%.
所以呢個研究報告建議
，So this analysis has suggested us
大麻立法不應與煙草立法有什麼不同。
When you think about the laws and regulations, think about the compatible laws with smoking, cigarettes, and tobacco.
大麻零售店應該按照市場嘅需求、社區不宜過密開設。
You do an analysis and do a survey and see how many people really, truly need cannabis in San Francisco before you allow all the stores to be open.
所以我喺度要求所有嘅立法嘅市參市應該全面認識大麻嘅好處同埋對健康嘅負面影響。
I am here to ask all of you who make rules and regulations to study both the good and the bad side of cannabis.
應該
冇啦。
Thank you. Next speaker.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mary Ma. I'm a retired licensed clinical social worker. For 32 years, I work as a psychiatric social worker for the city and county of San Francisco. I want to echo what the previous speaker was saying. The report that she refers to is the San Francisco Department of Public Health Cannabis Legalization in San Francisco, a Health Impact Assessment Executive Summary Report for 2017. And I want to quote for you on page 12 of that report is when it talks about the hospitalization rate. I want to quote, when examined by cause, cannabis use disorder was the primary drivers of most age, specific rates and counts of hospitalization and ER visits. Among those ages 0 to 4, cannabis-related poisoning account for all hospitalization and most ER visits. Therefore, it is imperative that you keep the 1,000 feet buffer zone around school, including preschool and take care centers. I know you have heard a lot from different speakers about protecting children. This report is from Department of Public Health, and I urge you to take that into strong consideration. And for the sake of children, give them a head start in developing a drug-free lifestyle. So please keep that 1,000 and more feet. And also, the report talks about the edibles that they are concerned about. So the quote on page 5, the city should consider strong regulation on cannabis edibles and prohibiting products that appeals to children, e.g. candies like gummy bears, cookies, cupcakes.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Again, any other members of the public which to speak in public comment, please line up as we're going to wrap up public comment here.
So I would like to start my time with a moment of silence for all the men, the women, the children that died of AIDS in San Francisco in the 80s and the 44 million people who have died of AIDS worldwide. And so I want to thank Ms. Tang for showing us that San Francisco is divided. We are divided, gays, lesbians, bisexual, transgendered, questioning, intersex, against Asians. So what I want to encourage every person in this room to do is to write this number down, 866 DHS. The number 2, the word ICE. Report your illegal members of your community who are violating federal law.
I can't cut that.
And you know who they are. You know where they work. Call that number. They'll be carted away. And I will be grateful for every Asian that is removed from San Francisco, for the Asian community support from Tang to the organizers in Chinatown, to the people that had come here. I hope you feel the pain and the hatred that you've perpetrated against the LGBT community by siding with the Pacific Justice Institute, a hate group. Shame on you! Shame! We are your enemies. We will fuck with you when you fuck with us.
Cut it off. I never wish to extend public comment, but I hope there's someone else going to speak after that. Next speaker, please.
My name is Ellen, and I'm a family social worker on behalf of San Francisco Community Empowerment Center. Through the last 1 month, we have been trying to communicate with Nicole Elliott, who sits in here, and trying to work with the mayor's office and all board of supervisors to set up regulations that is win-win for business and is win-win for residents and protect the children, youth, and the workers. I am here to repeat the same message. As earlier, there's a comprehensive executive summary, 19 pages. I'm sure you all read that already. It is very bad for the youth and the underdeveloped age minors. It is well written, a 19-page report. We have residents from 11 districts. Can you all stand up? 請你哋個個企起身，今日嚟呢度係反對大麻，反對大麻嘅。We are here from all 11 districts representing 35% Asian residents from different residents. We are here because the middle-aged parents, they have to go to work. They don't work, they don't get paid. So the people who are retired representing the children, the youth, they are afraid to come here because we understand many of those cannabis business related to drug-related trafficking. We do not want our children and youth exposed to retaliation. That was one of the reasons you don't see youth. And guys, we are all in this together. For the government, you have the responsibility, especially the legal counsel right there. You have the responsibility to set up rules to protect each resident from being lawsuits. We do not want lawsuits for San Francisco because of cannabis. It is an illegal substance.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Robert's Rules of Orders, point of information. This is a sanctuary city for immigrants and medical cannabis, and the medical cannabis
Shona, you don't
community
get a
feels
point of
that way.
information. It doesn't work like that.
Next speaker, please. Did she already speak? Sorry, I didn't see that.
All right, public comment is closed. Oh, no, Charlie.
Can you hear me? Is this okay?
We got you.
Okay. Charlie Pappas, good evening, good afternoon, supervisors and clerk and secretary, audience. Charlie Pappas, I'm vice chairman, medical cannabis, Berkeley Cannabis Commission, and I'm a closed dispensary since 2011, Divinity Tree. I just want to remind you folks of what we're doing here. We're making better, making better regulations than were forged in 2005, which were great recommendations when there was 50 dispensaries and it was the Wild West, no regulation, and yes, that can be improved on. I'm totally sympathetic with the neighbors. Why would you want to open a dispensary when your neighbors don't want you there? So, but that's not to say that there shouldn't be scrutiny and oversight. That's what you have to make regulations where the permit process doesn't take 9 months for a closed dispensary like it did, and all other dispensaries like it did for Vapor Room, and also 600 versus 1,000. Come on, that's a no-brainer. The green zone is insufficient as it is, and that should be reinterpreted. And unfortunately, in my experience with Planning Commission, they haven't had a map for 2 or 3 years. It makes it so hard to apply to be a new dispensary. San Francisco needs more dispensaries, not less. And your job is to make better regulations, improving what's here, not do limits and restrictions. That won't help equity. That helps no one. Marijuana. The stigmatism for marijuana use is being propagated by your restrictive proposals. And it's hard to find a landlord when that stigma exists. They're not ready to rent to everyone. It shouldn't be like that. Why is it easier to get liquor than marijuana in San Francisco?
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Any other members of the public wish to comment on items 3 or 4? All right. Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Okay. So, colleagues, I think there are a number of potential amendments I understand that we are going to be considering here at committee. First of all, I know Supervisor Cohen had an amendment. If Supervisor Cohen-Zade is here, if you want to come on up and just to explain it, and we can take a vote on that.
Thank you, Supervisors. My name is Sophia Kittler. I am an aide in Supervisor Cohen's office, and thank you for hearing this afternoon. Supervisor Cohen is proposing an amendment to allow multiple small retail cannabis businesses, both medical and adult use, to co-locate in a single place of business, provided that they are permitted by state law. In an effort to create more opportunity for small business, this amendment creates shared retail spaces for compliant permit holders, allowing multiple retailers to co-locate without violating the Orbis or Radius rule. Each individual retail business, which I would call very small businesses, remains subject to all of the other local land use controls in each of the drafts. Supervisor Cohen has requested that an amendment be considered for both the original file and the duplicate file. I believe that the clerk has circulated a copy of each, the duplicate being pages 1 through 6 and the original being pages 7 through 10. Specifically, this would allow cannabis retail use permits as reflected on page 2 for the duplicate file and 7 for the original file language, as well as medical cannabis dispensary permits reflected on page 6 and page 7. On 6 and 9, to be located in the same place of business as one or more other establishments also holding valid permits. In the original file, this would explicitly mean that the retailers would be allowed without a conditional use authorization if one is not otherwise required, whereas in the duplicate file, that conditional use authorization language was struck. This is a solution that potentially creates more space for small businesses without compounding the clustering issues. The number of permitted retail businesses in an individual place of business would be limited to no more than one retailer per 350 square feet of retail space. And this language is subject to all state law requirements pertaining to multiple permits on a single premise, which is to say that when the state comes in with regulations regarding how co-located businesses deal with security or storage, this will be subject to those. Supervisor Cohen just wants to encourage small business and early stage entrepreneurs in the cannabis industry, a subset for whom a full lease might be prohibitively expensive, particularly as rental prices are driven up by other land use limitations. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Colleagues, any questions on these potential amendments?
Can I ask a quick question?
Supervisor Safai.
Just for clarity, so this would be, you'd be authorizing just the retail to locate in the same place of business of
another retail business. So we think of it kind of like
another
a food
cannabis
hall.
retail. So multiple cannabis retailers could share the same space.
Exactly. So you could
Okay.
have a 1,000-foot space with, 3, I guess maybe only 2 in that case, but
No, I got it. Okay. Thank you.
absolutely.
Okay, colleagues, any further questions or comments? Sarah Peskin, if you're copacetic with these, can we make a motion to move
I'm
these?
fine with putting these in both files.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Peskin. Supervisor Tang, can we take those without objection?
Can we take?
We have a vote on these amendments proposed by Supervisor Cohen's office. Okay. Motion by Supervisor Peskin, we can take those without objection. Okay.
Sorry.
Supervisor Safai.
I have one more question for, did she leave? Oh, I have one more question, I'm sorry. I just want to clarify, this co-location, does it have anything to do with anyone selling any ownership of their existing business to come in? It would be separate permits, separate ownership.
Exactly.
All of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're all, the permit moves.
So each permit would have their own, each permittee would have their own permit. This wouldn't be about selling ownership within an existing permit to allow
As
people.
I understand it, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that item. I do have one that we've distributed, essentially taking the item in the more bulky file, if you will. The clean file. I apologize.
Item 3.
Item 3, thank you. And lines 9 through 12 would be amendments striking that, and that is the cannabis retail use shall require conditional use authorization if there are more than 2 other existing cannabis retail establishments or MCDs in combination with a it was meant to be 1,000-foot radius for the proposed site. What I would like to do is replace that, because essentially it was then 2 per 1,000 feet plus a CU if you wanted to do more, with language that states the parcel containing the medical cannabis dispensary shall not be located within a 600-foot radius of a parcel for which a valid permit from the city's Office of Cannabis for a cannabis retailer or medicinal cannabis retailer has been issued. Essentially what we're doing is replacing 2 per 1,000 plus a CU for additional to 1 per 600. And again, language that we had in prior versions, and I would like to make that amendment into the clean version. It's actually a little bit more restrictive than what currently exists in there.
So a question to Deputy City Attorney Wong or Givner, which is, if we go with the more restrictive today in committee, should the board choose tomorrow, the board will have a lot of options tomorrow, but they could expand that. So insofar as I think hopefully we'll send one file out without recommendations so we can continue this lovely conversation tomorrow, I will support it for the purposes of having that conversation tomorrow.
Okay. Sorry, Peskin, then a motion
That's a motion.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Peskin. Supervisor Tang, can we take it without objection? Okay, so moved. Okay. Supervisor Peskin, I don't believe you have any amendments at this point.
I do not, but I think there are a number of amendments. Supervisor Sheehy spoke to the thrust of them at the beginning of this meeting that we are able to make tomorrow. I did mention at the last hearing in committee that I intended to ask that as of right be turned to mandatory DR. I have subsequently decided that instead requiring Section 312 notice is the way to go, so I will not be making that amendment, but we may be making a Section 312 notice tomorrow at the full board.
Okay. And then Supervisor Tang, Supervisor Safai, did you or any comments?
Oh, on that? Oh, sorry, that was...
Okay, Supervisor Tang.
Okay, thank you. So on that note, I originally had an amendment to, I think it's page 9, at least of item 3, but it could be for both. It should be for both files, the bulky and the clean one, which is originally I had proposed a mandatory DR for District 4 and District 7. And we would like to citywide require the 312 notification. Again, this is still allows for neighborhood notification, the ability to appeal when an existing or grandfathered MCD wants to seek a building permit to have a change of use to a cannabis retail use. So again, a 312 notification. This would be citywide and not just for District 4 and 7. So make that motion for both files.
Can you reiterate that one more time?
So originally I had made a motion about a mandatory DR for just District 4 and District 7 NCDs. Now I am changing it such that it's 312 notification, which is neighborhood notification, 30-day window for all districts, not just District 4 and District 7, for existing MCDs that would that seek a change of use to allow for cannabis retail.
So you're talking about for the final permanent permit?
Yes, the final permanent permit.
Not anything temporary?
Not a temporary.
Okay.
That's
so
correct.
when they go through their final permitting later on, they would
That's
go
correct,
through a
for the
312
final.
notification?
Right, for the
Okay.
final.
Okay, I'm clear. Thank you.
For the purpose of having this discussion tomorrow at the full board, if we send this as without recommendation, I'm happy to adopt it so we can have that conversation tomorrow. Oh, Deputy.
Supervisors, Deputy City Attorney John Givner. So the mandatory DR requirement in Section 190 for the District 4 and District 7 NCDs is currently in the dirty version, or the bulky
The
version,
bulky
whatever your favorite adjective is.
Item number 4.
Item number 4. It is not in item number 3. So as I understand the amendment, Supervisor Tang is proposing to delete that mandatory DR from the bulky, from item number 4 and add into both items a requirement for 312 notice.
That's correct.
Along the lines that Supervisor Peskin stated, and I think to get this item forwarded so we can have a wonderful, wholesome discussion tomorrow, I'm happy to support that. So a motion by Supervisor Tang, and we can take that without objection.
Thank you. And just to reiterate, this is so that we can have more comprehensive, streamlined policies across all districts and not just certain districts, but still allows for the neighborhood notification, the ability to have the right to an appeal, all of which are, I think, were the important components of a mandatory DR that neighbors were interested in. The other amendments I mentioned during the first Land Use Committee meeting, but just wanted to put it into item 4, the bulky version, are amendments that I passed around, which is that, as you'll see here in the highlighted version, in the areas south of Lincoln Way and west of Sunset Boulevard, a maximum of 2 cannabis retail uses and MCDs in any combination shall be permitted at any time. Any such cannabis retail use or MCD must obtain a CU, a conditional use authorization. Now, to the public, while this may seem like I am trying to limit MCDs, I'm actually expanded the green zone in District 4 to the outer portion of our district, and so this cap here of 2 reflects the additional NC1 areas in which I added to the green zone. Then if you go to the tables for each of our NCDs, so Noriega NCD, Taraval NCD, Irving NCD, Judah NCD, there is a maximum number of 1 MCD or cannabis retail establishment that would be permitted at any given time. So despite the caps, would still allow District 4 to have at any given time potentially up to 6 establishments. So again, although it may be seen as we are just carving out districts or we're putting on caps, the reality is I've expanded the green zone in our district while putting in what I think are reasonable controls in each of our commercial corridors. So I'd like that to be in item 4.
Okay. Colleagues, no questions or comments. Motion by Supervisor Tang. Supervisor Peskin, can we take it without objection? So moved.
Okay, and then two other points that I'm not making amendments to, but I did want to bring up, is that I heard in public comment an issue from at least one operator, there may be more, I'm not aware of this, but that they were in compliance and operating under compliance with the Compassionate Care Act, but were shut down by the feds, currently have a provisional permit, so where do they stand in this process? And so just consulting with our city attorney's office, we believe that this will be something that would need to be handled in the item that is before the Rules Committee and not land use. So that is something that we're very, very interested in terms of operationally ensuring that if you were in compliance with the Compassionate Care Act previously, now operating under a provisional permit, and as a result of the feds shutting you down, that there be a process for you moving forward. I think that's fair. Again, that will be addressed by the Rules Committee. And then lastly, I did have an issue with a grandfathering date that was stuck into, I think, both pieces of legislation. At least, I think it starts on page 9. It's section 190, essentially. But the grandfathering date of July 20th, 2017, I had raised some concerns in the first Land Use Committee meeting because there were, I think this board had agreed upon when Supervisor Cohen's interim moratorium date had been passed, that there have been certain number of MCDs that would have been grandfathered in per a planning commission hearing date that was set. Now, I think that this July 20th window opens up a whole queue that I was not okay with originally, and I spoke to this at the first Land Use Committee meeting. But I also understand that the supervisor who made this amendment wants to move forward some of the applicants in his district, which I'm fine with, but I don't know that we're going to have the language today, but I just wanted to raise that this grandfathering date to me is a little arbitrary, and I want to make sure that we address this. Those are all the amendments that I have today.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor Tang. Supervisor Peskin.
Oh, I was just going to make a motion to send item 3 as amended to the full board without recommendation as a committee report.
No.
Supervisor.
Before you do that,
Safai.
2 things. One, just to respond to Supervisor Tang's compassion program, we actually did introduce amendments today regarding the compassion program in committee to allow for there to be a path of travel or path forward to allow operators to participate in the compassion program. So we did make that amendment today, so you will see that at the full board tomorrow. Secondly, the only other thing that we had discussed, and I believe that there was amendment in the past, was the conversation around NCSs. Do we have that language? That language had already been introduced.
Yeah.
So it would be a.
Wait, hold on. Let's confirm with our city attorney's office. I thought the NCS.
Yeah, at the Land Use Committee meeting last week, Supervisor Safai mentioned that he'd like to make cannabis retail use, I believe, a CU in NCS districts instead of prohibited. We've prepared that amendment, and the committee could make that today.
And we have, yes. So if someone could make, do I make that, or? I mean, I'm happy to.
Supervisor Tang, you want to make the motion?
Oh, sure. I'll make a motion on behalf of Supervisor Safai.
Okay, and we have the language. We're clear on, okay, motion then by Supervisor Tang. Can we take that without objection? Okay, so moved. Supervisor Safai, you want to keep going?
I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was the other thing we were talking about? So I think it was just the NCSs. I'm trying to think if there was one other thing. And we talked
You
about
said there were 2 issues?
Yeah, the compassion. So I mentioned the compassion, and we also talked about the NCSs. So those were the 2 issues that I had. We have one other one that we're going to deal with tomorrow at the full board.
Okay. Supervisor Tang.
Sorry, one quick question. Since Supervisor Safi mentioned in Rules Committee that there was an amendment made regarding compliance with the Compassionate Care Act and what that would mean, would that address the situation that I mentioned or referenced earlier about those that were shut down by the feds?
Supervisors, Nicole Elliott, Office of Cannabis. What this Supervisor Safai is speaking to is a program that supports providing low-cost or free cannabis to low-income patients. I think Supervisor Tang, what you're speaking to is operators who are operating in compliance with the Compassionate Use Act of 1996 and who were shut down because of federal enforcement or threat of federal enforcement. So while compassionate use is in both references, one is a program, the other is an operation and closure of that operation by federal activity.
Okay, thank you. So essentially, we would have to make an amendment in the Rules Committee legislation. Okay, great. Thank you.
And I have one more question that I need to clarify. Just going back to Supervisor Cohen's amendments about co-location of small business, I just want to ask you this. So I guess the way I would understand it play out, there would be an existing operator that would be in a space and that someone else would apply to operate in that space to share. Would they have to go through the same procedure of submitting to the Planning, Department of Public Health, your office? They would go through the same approvals. It wouldn't be anything different from the process that anyone would go through to be approved to locate in that space. The only thing that we're doing with this amendment is saying you can have more than one licensee in the same address. Is that the way I understand it?
I believe so. I believe what this amendment is saying is it's not subjecting retail on the same parcel
to the same anti-clustering.
To the same anti-clustering goals. There's a lot to be developed over how that would practically work to house retailers in one location on the same premises, and whether or not the state will allow that. So we will be learning more as the state issues their emergency regulations, and that is why you see subject to state law.
The only other thing that I want to ask about that, so this is about retail, but what about non-retail? We talked about that this morning with regard to accessory use for manufacturers, and so we're prepared to take that up as part of trailing conversation in terms of trailing legislation. But does this amendment allow for non-retail to co-locate?
This amendment speaks only to retail, Supervisor. So as you know, the state has defined premises very specifically, and we will be seeking more state guidance for how you can locate multiple license holders and permit holders on the same parcel, but different premises. So that's something that we will need to develop in conversation with the state.
In terms of having non-retail locate in the same location?
Correct.
So that we can't do that through this amendment. We'd have to
No,
have...
you cannot.
Okay. But I just want to put that on the record that that's something that we need to think about, because I think in terms of space, in terms of cost, in terms of everything that we heard today, and I just want to throw that out there. I think this is a really good amendment, but I think we should be thinking also about the non-retail.
I would absolutely agree and just say once the state issues the emergency regulations and we have a better sense of how they're going to regulate that, we should absolutely look at trailing legislation for that. I agree.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so unless any other comments or questions, we have items 3 and 4 in front of us. I would just say I think there's going to be a motion, and let's also be clear, we forward one of these items forward. If it comes to a debate tomorrow, we could add, if we forward item 3 forward just for tomorrow and keep item 4 in committee, we could potentially, if it came to it, add elements of item 4 into that, into the file tomorrow. So I think we're going to preserve all options, if you will, on the table. And I think we'll have a robust discussion tomorrow at the full board. And certainly hope we can move this item forward.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead, Supervisor Peskin.
I would like to remake that motion as item number 3 has been further amended. So I would like to make a motion to send item number 3 as several times amended to the full board as a committee report without recommendation for hearing tomorrow, November the 14th.
And would you consider adding to your motion, continuing item number 4 to the call of the chair?
And continue item number 4 to the call of the chair.
Okay, what a wonderful motion, Supervisor Peskin, and we can take that without objection. All right, Madam Clerk, do we have any other business in front of us? We don't?
That concludes our business for today.
Okay, thanks everybody. We're adjourned.